Shit. Radio.
That was fucking great, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Shit Radio, an unrefined podcast for the everyman. Tonight on the show, we have many fun topics. I, of course, am joined always by Mr. W.A.S.T.E.D. and Liarz.
Hello, everybody. How's it going?
Well, we're doing well, I think. How about you, W.A.S.T.E.D? You doing well?
Yep.
That's
Welcome,
great.
W.A.S.T.E.D.
Well, first thing, before we get into our topics this evening, we actually received some comments and some feedback on our last episode. We really appreciate all of you folks for listening. That's why we do this. One, we like to talk to each other and do a show because it makes us happy. Number two, we hope that you enjoy the show. And we really enjoy your comments and feedback. And Mr. Liarz has some of those comments and feedback now, so we want to address that before we go into our first topic. So, Liarz, can you tell us some of the recent comments from our last episode?
Sure can. So from Void Lycos, can't escape the Oasis hype. And then he put a curse word after. I won't say it this early in the show, but it starts with an F and ends with an uck. But and then Jose, I hope I say your name right, Oceano, 1939. Oasis are very good, bro. Don't listen to the media. Listen for yourself. Smoke a joint and listen to their first record. Definitely, maybe. It rocks. I can contest to that. It does rock. Thank you for the comment, and thank you for listening.
Now, we also have some comments from the old Bad Apples forum there, where we can actually, if you ever want to comment to us directly, you can go onto that website, which is badapplesforum.com. There's a Shit Radio topic thread there. You can just log on in and throw some comments on there. We'll be happy to interact with you. What are people saying on there?
Diesel Daisy, thank you for catching up on the episodes. You had mentioned on the forum that you were behind and that you would catch up, and a couple days later you indeed caught up, and so thank you for listening. Much appreciated. Megatron, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for the nice comments on the forum, obviously, badapples.com, and the Oasis episodes seem to be a hit with YouTube and all the other platforms as well, and especially on the forums. So Sydney fan, also, thank you for listening. Thank you for the comments. Much appreciated, everyone.
You know, I'm just waiting for the return of our dear friend Frank Drebin to start giving us some comments. You know, I miss when Frank would comment. I miss when Towel would throw in his 2 cents, the original producer of the show, who I know still listens. You know, if you're listening, guys, Mario, any of you guys that are listening, just let us know. You know, help us format what topics you want us to touch on, and we're open ears. If you don't like what we're doing, tell us. But, make sure to like the videos, subscribe to the video. It just helps build the channel. We're just trying to get this out to more people. We're a small-time operation here, folks. We're not backed by any giant conglomerate or corporation. So it's kind of a thing for the fans and thing for us. So just help us along. But on that note, we're going to get to our first topic tonight, and it's a topic that's going to relate to previous topics. A few weeks ago, we were talking about how there's really no new rock bands anymore. We went over a list of bands that have really come out in the last 10 years or so, and we kind of rated them and gave our opinions to you regarding what our thoughts were. And that's redundant, what I just said, but we're going to keep that in because things happen. We're live here, folks. But we went over that topic. We did that list. last week we did the list of 1991, the albums that were released. Now, granted, it wasn't rock exclusive. We talked about some great hip hop albums. We've mentioned a few country albums. But tonight I have a question for the show, and I have a question for the audience, which, here's the thing. If you think any of these albums or any, things overproduced, I want you to put it down in the comments. Tell us what rock albums you think were overproduced. Because my question tonight to Liarz to Wasted and to you, the audience, did overproduction kill rock? Well, what I mean by that, did it take away from its natural sound? Did it take away from its simplicity? And in my personal opinion, it has. So we're going to go over examples. We're going to give you our opinions, and we're going to start right now. First person I'm going to go to on this matter, and who do I want to go to? I want to go to Wasted or Liarz, Wasted or Liarz, Wasted or Liarz. Let's see. Wasted's only got one beer in him so far, so I'm going to let him catch up a little bit. Liarz, I'm going to go to you.
Alrighty. So it's a good question, and I did some research on it this week, and I found that there's no correct answer as to what overproduction is, because you might think that an album is overproduced and sounds horrible, but I might like the production values on it, thinking it was brilliant. So I did a little digging on what overproduction is, and we can go all the way back to Phil Spector. If you don't know who Phil Spector was, he was an American record producer, a songwriter, but he was also a convicted murderer. So he's dead now. He died in 2021. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was still in prison when he died. But he was a music producer, like I said, and he created something called the Wall of Sound. It was a production style that characterized for its diffusion of tone, colors, and dense orchestral sound. So with this Wall of Sound and what Phil Spector designed, he produced some very, very notable albums using the Wall of Sound. Probably the most popular one was the Beatles' Let It Be. So this album was recorded, this was the Beatles' last album actually, and it was recorded in 1970. And it's the 12th studio album, and they went with Phil Spector for this album. Now, he did his Wall of Sound, and basically, let me get into what actually the Wall of Sound was, right? So I was talking about that. So a popular misconception about the Wall of Sound is that it was simply created by turning everything up to the maximum for maximum noise and distortion. But it was actually a little more nuanced than that. It duplicated part played by an acoustic piano, an electric piano, and a harpsichord. So he layered all those three on top of each other if the song required those, right? So the combination of large ensembles with reverberation effects also increase average audio power in a way that resembles compression, like compression that we use today, i.e. overproduced today. So it all comes together nicely and it layers nicely, but some people figure that's overproduction. So with the Beatles and Let It Be, they got so upset with this album that Paul McCartney wanted to redo the album, and it's called Let It Be Naked, right? And this album is presented in more of its original artistic vision to get back to rock and roll sound of their early years, even though it was their final album. So what was funny about the two albums, though, is that they basically, on all the rating systems in like Rolling Stone and AllMusic and whichever places that rate music, the albums are pretty similar in rating. So neither one was better than the other. They were pretty much the same. Another album that Phil Spector did was like the Ramones album. He did the Ramones End of a Century album, right? And it was extremely successful for the Ramones. It was their highest charting album of their career. But, again, used Phil Spector's Wall of Sound production style. So what I found was that it's completely subjective as to what you think or I think is overproduced. So we went into, like, from Phil Spector, you can go up to Rick Rubin, who, or sorry, we can go to Bob Rock first with Metallica. He produced Metallica's first 4 albums. And the production values on those albums are very simple and straightforward. And they decided to go to Rick Rubin for Death Magnetic. And again, this is even though Rick Rubin was never known for overproducing albums, he was underproducing. He was very hands-off in his approach. But a lot of people consider Death Magnetic by Metallica to be their most overproduced album, which is funny to think of. So, in all the lists that I found and all the examples of overproduced albums that I found, one that made the list the most was Guns N' Roses' Chinese Democracy. It was always about number one or up and near the top of it. So, as a Guns N' Roses fan, do I like the album? I like the songs, but I like the songs before. I like them in demo form more than what ended up on the album. So
You like the Andy Wallace mix. That's the thing. Now go grab some water, buddy, and I'll start yipping here. And don't worry, Wasted will catch us up. But yeah, so Chinese Democracy is obviously going to be the one that everyone's going to point to, because we now have the old demos, or most of them. I know there's more Village tracks out there and more Village CDs out there, which hopefully one day see the light to the masses, which would be amazing. But if you listen to the Village sessions, you can really see that Chinese Democracy was a pretty damn good album and would make sense put it in together. But then by the time it became from the Village sessions to the sessions they did in New York City and the 2005, 2006 era, it really just, it became a different animal. And Andy Wallace was the original, head production guy on there that was working on it. Not the original, but the one who was doing the final mix and is even kind of credited with that. But then Karam Costanzo came in there, and we call Karam the Butcher because he butchers everything he touches. And Karam just put layers and layers upon sound. So what you would be having a song that was completely done, let's say by the year 2000, sounded good, made sense, was kind of in track with the rest of the songs and how they sounded. They would add, okay, well, this guitarist left the band, so let's put another guitarist over them. Okay, well, these drums, all right, these drums, that drummer left, so now let's have the other drummer try to recreate that sound. Okay, now let's put this synthesizer on top of that. Okay, now let's mix this. Oh, we don't like how this vocal sounds, so let's layer vocals on top of that to give it a stronger background vocal. It just took away from the music itself. Now, granted, the time that it took to get Chinese Democracy out, the old thing of shooting for perfection. Sometimes you overdo things. Sometimes you work too hard on an album, and by the time it comes out, it's nothing resembling what you started out with. And I think that's where Chinese Democracy went wrong. And obviously with Karam, and they had the opposite of the loudness wars. I remember one of the famous arguments from the Axl supporters, as we'll call them here to be nice, was that Axl didn't want to have a very loud sounding album when Bob Ludwig mixed it. He didn't want to, compete in the wall of sound. But what they did at the same time, though, was they just messed with the mix so much that it just made it an album that's just almost unbearable to listen to, because it's so different and so up and down, but not in a good Pink Floyd type of way. Wasted, we're not going to do a 30-minute in-depth discussion of Chinese Democracy, but I know this is where you have your PhD. Do you want to comment on this?
No, I think like what you said is right about like on paper it's very overproduced, because it was recorded. There was almost like 3 producers on the album. It was like recorded in all these different studios with all these different musicians. So it almost has to be overproduced. And then, but when I think of it, when I think of the album, when I listen to it, like what you said about, I think they mixed it so that all the like Axl's voice was mixed in with all the other instruments, so on the same level rather than being above or below. So it was all kind of like it was almost like wall of sound. So I think that's the thing that is hard to process, because it's all coming at you almost at the same time. But I think when I listen to the tracks, I don't think each track is overproduced. I think there's too many productions. Like the difference between Shackler's Revenge, which I think is like almost perfect. Like it doesn't. If you listen to that, you don't think, oh, that's overproduced. There's tons of strings on it, or there's this weird sound. It just sounds like what it should sound like. But then but
Axl does have songs. 2 tracks on it, right? Axl is layering himself on it.
Yeah. But there's also like there's definitely like a degree of like studio. There's loads of like studio stuff going on. I don't think it's horrific, but the overproduction seems to come when you switch from that kind of track to another track which was recorded at a different time, something like Scraped or Sorry. They sound completely different. And then there's other songs like Catcher in the Rye. So the different like instrumentation and styles on the album is also a problem. Like that's what makes it seem like all over the place more than the actual finished production across. Because the first 7 tracks pretty much like perfect, and then there's a few wonky ones, like different ones like Sorry, and IRS didn't seem to like, they never really got it perfect. Like it's a little bit too glossy. So
I think Iris they had perfect in 1999 Wasted. I think that was, it just needs some finishing touches on and to be mastered.
It's not really a studio album though. It's not up to the standard of a studio album, really.
Well, Wasted, what I think you're missing is what I'm saying, that they had an album that was pretty much, it would have been as good as Appetite? No. Would it have been good as Use Your Illusion? No, but it would have been comparable to them. I think in 1999, they had the album. In 2000, they had the album. In 2001, they had the album. Everything they did after that just worsened what they were doing. Like, if you go back and you listen to the blues from the Locker Leaks, from the Zootot Locker Leaks, the blues is perfect, and I love the blues. But then you listen to Street of Dreams, it's a completely different song with how much layering and production and just the changes in it. It ruins what is a beautiful song to, something that's not easy to listen to on the ears. I think they did that with IRS. I think they, even Better, all the times they've messed with Better has really taken away. There was a time it's been taken away. I mean, there was a time the actual release is pretty damn hard to listen to. The overproduction on that album is just mind-numbing. Now, I get Axl's trying to be a perfectionist and trying to put out the best quality album that he thought he was doing, but sometimes you get lost in the weeds. I mean, we create a show each week, and there's times that we overthink things. I can't imagine the pressure of having, 2 of the biggest rock albums ever made, and then it's like, all right, well, your whole band's gone, it's just you, and you got to do this, and all the pressure's on you, and I get why it was the way it was, but the mixing on that and the production and the layering and the AI tech, they didn't use AI techniques, but they auto-tuned. Axl Rose's voice should never be auto-tuned, and that's disgusting to me. But that's, I think, Chinese Democracy is the one that everyone will herald as the ones like, oh god, this is just an overproduced piece of shit. And it's not because Chinese Democracy, the songs themselves are bad. You just have to find earlier versions of the songs to really appreciate what really, really was a good album. Because I still think if they would have came out in 2000 intentions, we'd be talking about that album, right in line with Use Your Illusions as, hey, this is a really good Guns N' Roses album. Now, granted, it's not Use Your Illusions, it's not Lies, it's not Appetite for Destruction, but overall, it's a really, really good rock album, especially for the time. I still think it would have been a massive hit. But it's not only Guns N' Roses that are guilty about this. Last week, we were talking about Metallica and how they changed from being a metal band to a hard rock band by the time the Black Album came out. What we really didn't get into last week was how they went, even after the Black Album, they went into what they would call the Load and Reload albums, which were just, I like them still, but they're so overly produced. They're so just nothing that was Metallica before. They're just different. Liarz, can you touch on that? Because I know you like Metallica, I like Metallica, but you can definitely tell me the difference between Load, Reload, Saint Angry, or what is it? Saint Anger and Death Magnetic. Those are the big 4 studio albums that came out in the last 20 years or 30 years from Metallica that I don't get it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So the big change, and it's weird because since we're talking over production, Bob Rock was producing Metallica before they switched to Rick Rubin for Death Magnetic. And Bob Rock is wildly known as just a straight up producer, not an overproducer. Do you know what I mean? And going into Rick Rubin, they used him, and the album they're using Rick Rubin, this notorious underproducer, this guy that has a very hands-off approach on his whole production style. He produces the one album with Metallica called Death Magnetic, and again, it's a commercial success. People think it's overproduced, but it's done by Rick Rubin, who is, like I said, right? So my thoughts on the album of Death Magnetic is, I always thought one thing that was always great about Metallica was their loud booming drums, and Lars, because he's a really good drummer. Give him props where props are due. He's good at what he does, and they were always very noticeable on Metallica albums. And I found on Death Magnetic that you couldn't hear him, and he was kind of in the background a little bit too much, and the guitars were up a little bit a little bit too much. So I don't know. Death Magnetic, overproduced. I don't know. Just not a very good album for me.
I want to go back to like Load and Reload is where it really changes for me.
Mm-hmm.
I like Load, and I know Bob Rock was the production guy on that, and I know he was the production guy on Reload, but that's when their whole kind of them as a band changes. It's not, about loudness and metal anymore. They're more pop rock. You know what I mean? They're not even I guess you can call them hard rock, but they're just different, and they start adding in more production value to it. It's not just the guitars, it's not just the drums. It's what can we add in here? What sound effects can we add to the noise? Do you see that or no?
Yeah, it's like a lot of bands that when they get big, they sort of change their direction. That's their sort of their actual what they got famous for doing. They change it, and then they start putting strings and keyboards on their records. And I think sometimes that is just to stay relevant. Like all the bands from the 70s, when they went into the 80s, they had a problem because their 70s sound didn't really fit in. Like with Aerosmith, like Back in the South, Toys in the Attic, when they go into the 80s, people say that like Permanent Vacation is overproduced.
Wasted.
Because they're kind of
Wasted.
fitting in with the time. I think that
Wasted.
Metallica is similar to that, is that they were trying to keep pace with what was going on. The kind of grunge era and the hard rock era in the 90s.
Wasted. I want to stay on Metallica right now, and we'll definitely transition over to that because I know you have some commentary from the 70s and 80s on there, and we'll definitely go down that road. But I'm just kind of, looking at the Metallica discography here, and you can really see such a big difference. I mean, Saint Anger was horrible. I don't think anyone's going to tell you that, hey, Saint Anger was a good album. Are we in agreement, all three of us?
100%.
Okay, just a complete departure. Well, you did. What did you like about it?
Just that it was like experimental, and people say that I've seen that on lists of overproduced, and I guess it is overproduced because it seems like the production ideas are sort of impacting what you think Metallica should be. So they're like production, like Lars's drums, like he just went with some crazy drum snare like technique, didn't he? And that's what made the album. And the guitars were really thrashy, but I thought that they were doing that to fit in with like the garage rock kind of thing that was going on. So they went back to their like punk roots or something. So that's what I thought about Saint Anger.
I'm not a fan of it. Liarz says he's not a fan of it. And then,
No.
to finish them off for their discography here, I'll mention one that I like at the end, but the albums, and I'm going to be honest with you here, I haven't listened to these two albums just because I was so kind of just done with Metallica. We're going to be talking about, after Death Magnetic, they had Hardwired to Self-Destruct. And I've heard people say it's kind of a return to Metallica's, roots. But to me, it's still just blah. There's nothing new. There's nothing, there's nothing memorable to me. It's just it's an album. And then they had another one come out, I guess, last year called 72 Seasons. I don't think I can give you a song from any of these albums, the Hardwired to Self-Destruct or 72 Seasons, that I like listen to or have listened to more than once. Do you guys have anything out of those two albums that, you want to add? I can't really comment on it because I was so kind of just done with them by then.
Yeah,
I listened to a couple songs off their latest album. It was quite thrashy. 72 Seasons. It was quite thrashy. I listened to two songs off it. I liked it because it sounded like Metallica from Master of Puppets to me, or Ride the Lightning for me. It was a little bit more thrashy than the stuff that was previously on, well, basically the Black album continuing on.
Wasted, did you listen to any of it?
Is it Hardwired? To me,
Yes.
it sound, and also Death Magnetic. Both of those, when they were kind of like them trying to return to their sort of thrash roots. I liked Death Magnetic more. I know the production, people didn't like it. It was all compressed for the loudness wars or whatever. But I thought there was like good songs on the album. Still, like All Nightmare Long, Cyanide. They were pretty good songs, but the production was a little bit like glossy. But it wasn't like people said like overproduced. It's like a little bit. It's not like, but it's not like they've got a load of like orchestras on there or anything. It was a pretty kind of, it's all just the instruments playing, isn't it? But I thought Hardwired they were going, for me, too far back into the thrash days where they didn't really have that many songs. Like they had some like For Whom the Bell Tolls. There's some good ones, but a lot of it is them just playing really fast and hard, which is what they do. But I thought
they were
like
really good at it,
songs on. Yeah, they're really good. They sort of invented it, didn't they? But with Death Magnetic, seeing as I'm not a huge fan of Metallica, they had some songs in there that I thought were good. You know, end of the line.
Well, as you're saying, Wasted, you don't think they sold out on the last 2 to 3 albums, which is good. You know, I'm agreeing with you. I don't think that they were as bad as they were when they did it with Load and Reload and Saint Anger. They didn't bring in Tracy and Roberta. They didn't bring in Pittman, so obviously, you know, they didn't sell out. One of the things, though, I will give them credit for, one of my favorite Metallica albums, and I think it's probably in my top 3, is I love Garage Inc., their cover album. The double CD Garage Inc. I thought was fucking fantastic. I had that as a kid, and I thought that was, you know, simplified. I didn't think that was overproduced at all. It didn't sound too loud. They didn't seem like they were adding too much into it, you know.
It's a pretty good album. I have it as well. I listen to it. Every now and then. I agree. It's probably one of their better ones. It's not up there with their first 4, but probably 5th for me. Yeah, for sure.
Now, we talked about Metallica. We brought up Guns N' Roses. So those are kind of the 2 big bands. I mean, you like it or not, they're 2 of the most popular rock bands in the history of rock and roll. Wasted was bringing up a topic, and I didn't mean to cut him off to stop his thought process because I wanted to bring in a longer conversation regarding it. But he was talking bands from the 70s and 80s and 90s. He was bringing up Aerosmith, and I want you to, you know, go back to that point now, Wasted, about, you know, Aerosmith. But I think you can even notice it, and well, Liarz, I want you to take it from here after Wasted's kind of done talking about this topic on it, to what happened with bands like you mentioned earlier, Rick Rubin. And, you know, Rick Rubin had so much success early on with bands like the Beastie Boys, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, that you can really see that he continued working with them. And I think that the quantity how do I say this? This is one of those times where you're trying to say something, but your brain doesn't want to work. The quantity outweighed the quality by far on all those albums. Like, he put out so many albums with those types of bands, and they continued working with him, that the first ones that they had success for maybe 1 or 2 albums on, it seemed like they ran out of ideas. But Wasted, you were talking about Aerosmith, and Aerosmith, if you want to listen to the 70s Aerosmith and even early 80s Aerosmith, they sound completely different production-wise and sound-wise to how they sound now.
Yeah, and what I know when I was looking at it, and I was trying to think about overproduction, I sort of realized that, you know, it's when bands kind of have their time, like in the 70s, and then they move into the 80s, and then they have to change, like Aerosmith. And then it also happened a little bit like with you have a band like in the 80s, like Def Leppard with Hysteria, which did this kind of really overproduced, like almost like concept album, 80s album, but they found it really difficult when going into the 90s. And also you have like a band like Nirvana, who are kind of on bleach, they were kind of raw, but then when they go into the 90s, because of the 80s kind of record industry that was still around in the early 90s, Nevermind is a little bit glossy. So then they had to they wanted to go back on that with their next album with In Utero. So it's these bands are like navigating the different the changing like eras of rock. Like I remember, and it's also, I think it's very particular to like hard rock authenticity is very important for like a band like Metallica or Aerosmith or Guns N' Roses, who come on the scene with this like hard sound. and then they have to navigate this new decade, which doesn't really work for them. Like things have changed, and it really sticks out when you're following a band. Like I was following Megadeth most of their career, and all their albums are pretty like hard hitting. And Dave Mustaine's always talking about how he's not going to change and all this. But then they brought out those two albums, Cryptic Writings and Risk. Cryptic Writings was kind of like more melodic and like more grungy, and then Risk was like almost like pop, like almost like Hysteria level productions, huge intros, very like melodic songs like Breadline. So I think that's where you notice when a band, like you're saying with Metallica, they have this run which defines them, and then they have to start changing. They change their style to kind of stay relevant, and they get into like playing a game with the media. Like, oh, that last album, we're going to change now. We're going to do like more hard rock, pop rock, something different for us, so we can talk about that. Then they switch to something else on the next album. So they're like playing. I think that's something to do with did overproduction kill rock? You know, as in these bands have to they have to survive, and I don't know if it kills it to keep changing, or whether they kept rock alive by doing, playing the game.
Is it the band that is changing, or is it the producer that's changing? Because it's the producer that overproduces it ultimately. So is it the band that's changing their sound and trying to adapt and trying to keep up, or is it going from different producer to produce an album of this band?
Well,
I know we talk about Guns N' Roses a lot, but one of the rumored producers actually it's confirmed, for Appetite for Destruction was Paul Stanley of Kiss. Now just imagine how different Appetite for Destruction would have sounded had Paul Stanley produced that album, right? So who's responsible for the overproduction, or who's responsible for the different sounds? Is it the band or is it the producer?
There seems to be like a fight going on sometimes, and then sometimes the band has enough control. Like I think Guns N' Roses, Axl decides kind of what he wants to do, which producers he just wouldn't agree. But then there's other bands that maybe the record company suggests, like I think Nirvana didn't really know what they were doing, really. They just went to the studio with a producer who thought, and then they got a record.
The producer they went with was?
Butch Vig?
No, Mike Clink.
Oh, sorry. What are you talking about? Guns N' Roses.
The producer in Nirvana's Nevermind, Mike Clink.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
No,
that's very interesting.
It's not. The producer of Rust in Peace by Megadeth is Mike Clink. The producer of Nevermind, I'm pretty sure, is Butch Vig.
Hold on.
But I get some of the names mixed up. But it's not Mike Clink for Nevermind.
Butch Vig.
Hold on. It might be Andy Wallace.
Andy Wallace mixed it.
Okay, no, it's Andy Wallace. I'm sorry, because I got a list of producers open up, and the reason I was looking at it's Andy Wallace, which I'm sorry, dude. Andy Wallace is not to blame for Chinese democracy. All right, I can tell you this right now. But Andy Wallace was the producer on Nirvana's Nevermind. All right,
I think he mixed it, didn't he?
He's the engineer mixed producer, so he's the one that controls how it's going to come out sounding. This is what you're looking at for Andy Wallace. Let me just give you kind of a highlight of Andy Wallace, okay? Andy Wallace, Run DMC's Raising Hell, 1986. Slayer, Rain in Blood, 1986. The Cult, Electric, 1987. Slayer, South of Heaven, 1988. All right, we go a little bit forward. Sepultura, Arise. Nirvana's Nevermind. L7, Bricks Are Heavy. White Zombie, La Sexos Lex. Oh, dude. All right, wait. Liars, do not edit this out because I want people to realize I'm retarded. Ready? La Sexo Sisto Devil. White Zombie. Sonic Youth's Dirty. Helmets Meantime. Rage Against the Machine's Rage Against the Machine. Screaming Trees, Sweet Oblivion. You got Bad Religion, Stranger Than Fiction. Jeff Buckley's Grace. Faith No More, King of the Day. Blind Melon's Soup. Rancid, and Here Out Comes the Wolves. You got Evil Empire by Rage Against the Machine. You got Screaming Trees, Dust. Everclear, So Much Afterglow, which is a fucking great album. And people are going to, this is because I'm younger than you guys, but this was a great album and I listened to it because I'm a douche. Limp Bizkit's $3 Bill, y'all. You have Foo Fighters, There's Nothing Left to Lose, which is one of their, it's the one that they like finally fucking, because they had Colored and Shape and Purple come out, and There's Nothing Left to Lose is, you know, a really good one after that. And I'm going to tell you this is why I know Andy Wallace is not to blame for Chinese democracy. In 2000, he mixed and produced Disturbed's The Sickness. Now, granted, that has a lot of production in it, but goddamn does it sound good. Now, he also did Limp Bizkit's Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water. Okay. And it's goofy, but at the time, you know, people are into it. Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory, which is their best album by far. System of a Down Toxicity, their best album. Stereophonics Just Enough Education. I mean, it wasn't him, guys. It wasn't him. I mean, he did Puddle Mud Come Clean. He did some more Disturbed stuff. He did Chevelle's Chevelle's Wonder What's Next, which that's underrated as shit. Fuel's Natural Selection, another underrated album. A Perfect Circle, 13th Step, really good. Blink-182's Blink-182. System of a Down again. Some more Rage Against the Machine. Three Doors Down, 17 Days. I mean, I'm just looking at all the stuff that Andy Wallace has done. Andy Wallace was never the issue for why Chinese democracy sucked. That's straight up Karam Costanzo. So I just want I wanted to defend Andy Wallace a little bit.
So Andy Wallace didn't produce the album, but it was Bevan, Roy Thomas Baker, and Costanzo.
Yes, but hold on a second.
But Wallace was brought in to do the mix, I think, because of Nirvana, because they have a lot of things going on, and he gets a kind of like to all these albums. Although there's a lot of different parts to it, like rapping and synths and stuff, he still gets a kind of streamlined sound, which I think is what they wanted for Chinese democracy, because there's so much going on in the record. But that's not his. But yeah, like you're saying, it's not his. That's not the problem with the album. The problem with this album is there's too much going on for anybody to control it.
You're missing what I'm saying. That Wallace. Okay, so Bob Ludwig did the final mastering on it. But after Wallace did his mix and production thing on there, the Butcher Karam went in there and he did it again.
He did a lot of digital editing. No, he did a lot of digital editing before.
He did it afterwards, Wasted.
When the Wallace mix, afterwards for the recent releases, he's been doing a lot of editing. Once Wallace had mixed it, I think it was done. And he did two mixes, didn't he? He did like the dynamic mix and the loud mix or something.
Did you say Bob Ludwig produced some of
mastered
Chinese democracy? He mastered it.
He's the guy who mastered it, yeah. Bob Ludwig.
Yeah. Bob Ludwig. Yeah, he's part of that whole Wallace sound I was talking about too.
And that's why it's funny, because Axl said he didn't want to have a wall of sound.
Right. Yeah. No. And yeah. But what came out was...
I'm looking this up right now because I think that Wasted is being wasted again. Production. Karam Costanzo. Engineering and digital editing. Arrangements tracks 2, 3, 6, 8, and 14. Initial production track 8. Sub-drums track 13. / production mixing. Like I told you, Wasted. He came in after Andy Wallace was done. The Andy Wallace mix was done in 2006.
Before the mix.
I understand, but he came in and he fucked with it again.
It doesn't. Okay. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but I don't think it's massively important. But I guess it is. Well, if you're saying that he came in and chopped it all up after it'd been mixed, maybe I don't know though. That's not how I remember it, but it's me.
I'm sorry, Wasted, but that's what the facts state on here. I mean, no, you're talking about who
what
produced...
you said doesn't say that though. It says that it was you said it was like he's produced and he did a lot of digital editing. But I'm pretty sure the mix was done by once the mix is done, you can't go back in.
Okay, but
I know that Costanzo went in hacking into the he did more production, didn't he? I mean, he did actually produce like.
So Andy Wallace is listed as the mixer. That's what he's listed on in here. That he did the mix. So he did the mix, which he would have made it sound non-shitty. But then Karam came in and fucked around with the mixing on top of that. And Bob Ludwig at the end, after Karam already came in there, did his butchering, did the mastering.
Okay. But I don't think Andy Wallace is, like you said, is not to blame. There's a lot more difficulties with the different styles and different producers and all the things with Chinese democracy. He just gave it a kind of streamlined, decent mix, didn't he? Kind of keep it all together.
And they chose to fuck with it, is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
you went from
yeah.
having Sean Bevan, who was great with Nine Inch Nails, this and that, but is a completely different sound. You went from Sean Bevan to Roy Thomas Baker, who's notorious for Queen and this and that. So we're going, two polar opposites here to get a thing done. Then you get rid of both of them. In between, at some point, you had Youth working on it. And then it ends up being pretty much Axl and Karam being the ones going, okay, we're going to fuck around and tinker with this until we get to where we want it to go. And that's how it went until they sent it out to mixing. It came back from mixing. Karam's like, oh, I still want to play with it a little bit more. And then they sent it out for final mastering to Bob Ludwig. And they gave Axl 2 choices and maybe 2 or 3 choices. And Axl chose the one that had less a wall of sound. And that's how the whole situation went. But what I was trying to get into, I was defending Andy Wallace because the guy clearly is talented for everyone he's worked with. So I'm talking production. I didn't say, if I said producer, I'm wrong, but production aspect, it's just not the case. He's like one of those guys that, like, if you put him in there, you're really going to have a good experience. We were talking Mike Clink earlier, and you brought up, Mike Clink, but Jesus, Mike Clink has another history record of just being a really good producer and being someone great in production. Obviously, he did Appetite for Destruction. He did Whitesnake Slip of the Tongue, Megadeth's Rust in Peace. He's worked with Slash a lot. He worked with Sammy Hagar on Unboxed. He did the first Slash of Snake Pits, It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere. You have people have a lot of talent that have worked throughout the business. And, one of the songs that I really like, or one of the albums I like, and you guys are going to probably call me a fag for this, that Mike Clink did, he did Survivors one, Seconds Count.
Is that the one with Eye of the Tiger on it?
No, this would be the one right after Eye of the Tiger, because Eye of the Tiger came out like 1980. Jesus, when did it come out? 1984, I want to believe.
87. I've got a feeling. I don't know. It feels like an 87 song. But yeah, it's before Rocky 4. So it must have been made before Rocky 4. So maybe it was made in 84.
It was made... Jesus.
1982.
I wasn't even born then.
Me neither.
So, but it came out with Burning Heart, which if you don't like Burning Heart, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. That's straight up from GTA. That's straight from Rocky 4, which, come on, guys. Rocky 4. But we were talking about, bands that overproduce. One of the bands I think was massively overproduced, and it worked out well for one album, and it was amazing for one album, but I think it actually caused the band to break up because of how much overproduction and how much they were doing into it. I'm talking Pink Floyd. I'm talking The Wall. Amazing album.
Oh.
Fucking spectacular. But if you noticed, after Pink Floyd's The Wall, they were never able to come back from it. They just would try to keep tinkering and fuckering with the stuff until it just couldn't be done. And I believe that's probably what caused the band to break up. What do you guys think?
I always thought that it was
just dropped
Division
a bomb
Bell.
there.
I thought it was Division Bell that people didn't like production-wise because it was like too pot. Because I like that album because I never really got into The Wall.
Everyone likes The Wall. I'm not saying that we all like The Wall. We think it's fucking brilliant. What I'm saying is that because of all the production, like everything, it worked. It's one of those few times that, hey, this one actually worked. They put in all this overproduction. They made it, all the layers of sound you could possibly imagine. But because they did that on The Wall, their next follow-ups just couldn't, they couldn't ever recapture the magic again.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm not a huge Pink Floyd fan, but I mean, that's kind of what they always did, isn't it? That's kind of like Dark Side of the Moon, all those albums were kind of very similar. I'm not sure. Like when I listen to The Wall, it doesn't really seem like, it doesn't stand out to me as being overproduced. Maybe because it's like in older albums, what they said was overproduced at the time. Like Let It Be, if you listen to it now, it sounds like almost like an acoustic album. I mean, it's got some strings on it, but it doesn't sound like hugely overproduced. But at the time, they were like, this is an overproduced record. So I'm not sure. I think sometimes the older ones, because that's what I was going to say, like, when did like overproduction start? It was started when the 60s and 70s bands moved into the 80s. So that's when people started to go like, okay, you did all these records in the 60s and 70s, and then now you're in the 80s and you're kind of like trying to get in line with all the pop bands. Like with Hysteria, they were like, they were trying to do Human League and stuff. Yeah.
Wasted, you're missing the point. The point is, like, Pink Floyd was known for high production values before The Wall. They were known to really try out all ideas, be experimental. Then they made The Wall, which everyone considers to be one of the greatest rock albums ever made. But there's so much production in there. There's so much fucking with the album. There's so much added layers and sound effects and everything that after The Wall, they can never, ever capture that again. And it led to their next album happening and being a failure because they can never recapture what they had in The Wall. That they threw all their ideas out at once. And the next album, when they tried to tinker with it and do kind of, not exactly the same, but try to go down that same path, it just created such friction between Waters and Gilmour that they couldn't do it. The next album after The Wall is called The Final Cut, and it's actually the last album that Roger Waters is on. And it just didn't have the same kind of commercial success. They tried with the production. It seemed like that, we were mentioning sometimes overproduction isn't a bad thing. You mentioned Def Leppard's Hysteria earlier. It's a good album. It wasn't a bad thing for the overproduction. But when you're talking about The Wall, great album. But then it led to them never being able to come up with anything again close to that and trying to chase the dragon by, hey, we reached a level of production now. What do we do? How do we produce something to get to this level?
Yeah, I think it's a huge... The Wall was a big, huge project that took a lot to do, so it's hard to replicate it, but they're doing similar things maybe. Is Division Bell like an actual album, or is it a...
It's a 1994 David Gilmour album, dude. There's no Roger Waters.
So it's still Pink Floyd, but it's not Roger Waters. That's why it's more like the sound. It sounds more like the production is more glossy and doesn't have any it has less of a rock feel to it, and it's more like keyboards. Whereas The Wall it does have parts of it that sound almost like hard rock. I mean, hard rock bands like Guns N' Roses like them, don't they? Yeah, it's got. When I listen to it, I don't think of it as being hugely overproduced. It's like ambitious, but it's not like crazy amounts of keyboards or some weird sound effects that are not organic. You know what I mean? It's not layers of synth. Like some of the sounds on Risk, the Megadeth album, where they went kind of pop. It's just it's so pop on some of those songs and so melodic, but then they've also got these really cheesy keyboards that you would never expect to be on a Megadeth album. So it just stands out. Whereas I think with the Floyd albums, they're kind of doing the same thing, aren't they? But they're using more synthesizers and stuff. So they're always kind of being more ambitious and overproduced than most bands. It seems like when you listen to it.
I think Pink Floyd is produced quite nicely, actually. I can see where Brasky's coming from on The Wall. It definitely did cause a lot of internal strife in the band. And the next album, The Final Cut, like Brasky was talking about, a lot of people consider that a Roger Waters solo record because it's David Gilmour had basically left the band by the time it came out, and there was a lot of internal conflict, like I said, in the band at the time. And David Gilmour kept the name Pink Floyd and released 3 albums under the Pink Floyd banner afterwards, right? And I think that's where it got a little more synthy and a little more poppy than it was previously. I think the band really changed once Roger Waters left.
I just remember the Division Bell. People were saying it's really like poppy and overproduced, and that The Wall was more it's a classic rock album with it's not horrendously cheesy. The Final Cut, didn't that take years to come out, 10 years or something?
Which one? The Division Bell?
Final Cut. The Final Cut.
It came out 4 years after The Wall. The Wall came out in 79. Final Cut came out in 83.
83. Wasn't there one that came out in the 90s? Echoes. That was one of the Gilmour ones.
Well,
Echoes, I believe, was a compilation, wasn't it?
Sure, there was an album that came out in the 90s from Pink Floyd that just took ages.
There was. It came out in 1994. I can't name it right now, but it kind of gets away from the point of like, hey, overproduction killed Pink Floyd. You know what I mean? Like, The Wall is a masterpiece, one of probably the greatest rock albums ever made, but it ended the band afterwards. You guys were mentioning earlier that, hey, the Beatles did the last Beatles album, which you were saying was Let It Be, and Paul McCartney was so pissed he didn't want to release it, and they eventually released it, Let It Be Naked. So you can see that sometimes when you put in all this overproduction and you put in all this layers and you fuck with it too much, it kills the dynamic of a band. It kills who the band is naturally, who they are, their vibe. And, you know, sometimes overproduction is great. Like, I can give you examples of fucking CDs that are overproduced. Like, we just gave you The Wall that's overproduced. Here's a CD or an album that's overproduced. It's probably top 5 rock albums ever made. Beach Boys, Pet Sounds. You know what I mean?
Some of these albums, though, they're meant to be overproduced, though, aren't they? Like, there's a bit more ambition to the... Like, Pink Floyd weren't like a rock and roll band, like a rock and roll band, and then they started to do The Wall, didn't they? They were always doing that kind of like psychedelic, like kind of rock from the beginning. Yeah,
but not on the level. They were never
doing like pop songs. But like, you can listen between the Beatles started out as like a rock and roll band, and then they get all that money and freedom, and they start to do like, you know, Sgt. Pepper's and Let It Be and stuff, where they just like get really indulgent, which is like another part of overproduction. Bands that like they get too and Chinese Democracy is a bit of a victim of that. With all the money,
I swear to God, you mentioned Chinese Democracy one more time, I'm muting you. I swear to fucking Christ, we've talked Chinese Democracy way too much.
No, I'm just saying that it's one of those, like Be Here Now, Oasis. They'd already made it, and they had all this money, so why not put all these layers of guitar? I don't know. Is that like something that, like I was thinking Elvis was the first one to do that, wasn't he? Like the Beatles, like were kind of copying Elvis with their strings, weren't they? Because Elvis did Suspicious Minds and stuff. Wasn't it towards the end where he started to get orchestras in just because he could? And then these bands like the Beatles kind of started putting strings on their songs. Well, Oasis did it straight after Definitely Maybe.
Part of the Wallace sound, right? Is the layering. That's part of it, right? So that's part of overproduction.
But you can't see the difference wasted. You can't see the difference wasted between, you know, Dark Side of the Moon, you know, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall. Like, granted, they're all similar, but you can definitely see the increased production, the increased overproduction in The Wall than you can in previous albums, and that caused a great rift. And I was actually asking the Beatles thing, and we're going, hey, that was the Beatles' last album. Boy, guys, I wonder why it was their last album. You know, you can blame the Yoko Ono thing, this and that, but guess what? When you overproduce an album, you put in an album that's not related to the sound that you've come up with as a band over years, and you release one like that, it usually causes a lot of issues with the band because it's not how they wanted it to sound. They're not pleased with it. Even Axl, to this day, is not happy about how the other one sounds, about Chinese Democracy, how it sounds. I'm sure Metallica looks back and goes, boy, that's really not how we wanted it to sound. But there's other examples. Liarz, you were going to talk about Rick Rubin and what he's done. I know you kind of have a list of stuff from Rick Rubin.
All right. So Rick Rubin, yeah. He's an American record producer, and he's worked with numerous acts, from the Beastie Boys to the Ghetto Boys, Run DMC, Public Enemy, and LL Cool J. He's worked with pop stars like Kesha and Adele, even Lady Gaga. He's worked in heavy metal with Danzig, Metallica, and even Slayer. He's done alternative rock with The Cult, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Rage Against the Machine, Weezer, Audioslave, and Aerosmith. He's done some new metal with Linkin Park and System of a Down, and he's even gone into some country with Johnny Cash and the Avett Brothers and the Chicks, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks. This guy has a very impressive resume, and like I was talking about earlier in the show, a very unique style of production. His trademark is that he has a stripped down sound, which involves basically eliminating like production elements, like string sections or backup vocals or stuff like that, right? And reverb, and having naked vocals and just like bare instrumentation. So he's been praised, and he's also been criticized. Dr. Dre one of my favorite producers, was producer of some of my favorite albums. He's hands down the dope producer that anyone would ever want to work with. So there's high praise there from Dr. Dre, but along with that comes criticism. And Slipknot, I guess, had a little bit of a beef with him. Corey Taylor said that when they hired Rick Rubin to come in to produce the Subliminal Verses Volume 3. He only met him a couple times during the recording. Corey Taylor only met him a couple times during the entire recording process, right? And I guess Corey Taylor felt that if you're going to produce an album, he should at least be there, right? And he criticized Rubin for his absences from the studio due to other work commitments. So I guess he's kind of spreads himself as far as he can, right, to get as much done. And I guess some people don't like that. Geezer Butler, and he produced Black Sabbath album 13, and Geezer Butler was critical basically of the same stuff as well. So he's produced, like we were saying too, he's produced some of the band's best albums, right? So during the Loudness Wars, some of the albums that came out, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Californication, Death Magnetic by Metallica, and then of course, like I said, 13 by Metallica, right? Black Sabbath. So a very accomplished producer. Oddly enough,
at one point,
yeah, go ahead.
At one point, Liarz, I was going to say, I think he probably was the best producer for rap. I mean, literally, the dude did Run DMC's King of Rock, LL Cool J's I Need a Beat. He did Run DMC's Raising Hell, Beastie Boys' License to Ill, which is probably top 5, top 10 rap albums ever. He did so much more work with LL Cool J, pretty much did all of his 80s discography. And then he did the Ghetto Boys. Now, if you guys like rap or an old school rap, I mean, that's fucking spectacular. Now, he was a supervisor. He wasn't the main guy in there, but he worked with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which turned them in from kind of I would say a punk rock band into the 80s. Like I don't know if they're punk. It's a hard way to describe them, but they weren't mainstream at all. But he's the one that brought them into mainstream rock with Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic, with Californication. He did a lot of great work early on. He did one of my favorite albums, Audio Slave. He's been a person that's been around for a long time, that's done a lot with what he's done. The one that I think really stands out to me of saying that, hey, this guy can really do a good job, but I don't think he's someone that you want to do multiple albums with, is when he did that Johnny Cash album that had, I believe he did the one that has Hurt on it. Nope, it was Johnny Cash in 2002, American 4, The Man Comes Around. I mean, it shows talent. But he also did some horrible albums, too. I mean, you got Limp Bizkit's Results May Vary, fucking garbage. He did the Weezer album that everyone hated, Make Me Believe. Odd Exile by Audioslave, which is probably their worst. He did System of the Down's Hypnotize, which is probably their worst. He did Linkin Park's Minute to Midnight, probably their worst, when Chester Bennington was still the lead singer. Metallica's Death Magnetic, which I think is just such a far departure of Metallica. I just think it's garbage. But then he did Kid Rock's Born Free, which, I'm sorry, unless if you're, driving a pickup truck and, screaming, God bless America, and watching NASCAR, I don't think anyone likes that album that listens to rock. It was kind of Kid Rock selling out for money. Overall, I think he's very talented, and his earlier works really showed that. But I don't think he's a producer that you want to do multiple albums with, pending, you're not the Red Hot Chili Peppers trying to find mainstream success in the 90s. What do you think, Liarz? What do you think, Wasted?
Agreed. If you go down his list, the first album that is usually the best with him, and then it just seems to tail off from there. I don't know if the artists get fed up with his approach. I don't know if they become complacent. Who knows? But definitely, if you want to put a buzz into your sound or get a buzz into your name, you hire Rick Rubin, and he puts out a good album for you. I don't think he can really get that magic more than once, or it starts to become less shiny with each album.
Yeah. Wasted, do you have other producers, or do you want to comment on Rick Rubin?
Well, the only thing that I was picked up about Rick Rubin was that more recently he sort of doesn't he kind of is like a nostalgia producer, like like all these bands that have they've gone off and done kind of experimental albums, or they've done pop or whatever, and then when they want to come back, like Death Magnetic, he was saying that he sort of said, like, when he was talking to the band, he was saying, like, you have to go back to 1988. How were you feeling then? What equipment were you using? So they were trying to like recreate a kind of like a time where they used to, get back to basics, basically. So I was just wondering if that is that part of his production kind of style or vibe. Rick Rubin, kind of like a nostalgia producer. Like, I think he did it with another band too that had gone kind of a bit wonky, or he's always bringing them back to their old school style. Is that part of him?
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking in terms of other producers, they all seem like different. Like some of them, like Bob Ezrin, he seems to like want to get in on the songwriting. Like, didn't he get a songwriting credit on The Wall? And he also worked with Kiss. I don't know. And then Steve Albini is always one who seems like whereas Rick Rubin seems kind of like quite standoffish, and he doesn't want to interfere with the band too much. But Steve Albini has such a set techniques for, like on his records. I'm sure it says recorded by Steve Albini, not really produced. And he has all these particular mics. So when a band goes in there, it's almost like a sort of dictatorship, if you know what I mean. Like he decides what are the best microphones to record, like on In Utero with the Nirvana, and he sort of has quite a sort of communist sound. So I was thinking, is that a kind of form of overproduction? If the producer has too much of a kind of set way of doing things, like when he did PJ Harvey, Rid of Me, that album, you can tell that it's recorded by Steve Albini. It's so stripped down to the basics, and the guitar sound is so brutal and isolated, a bit, and that's the sort of thing you got on In Utero. But I remember that the first mix of the album, they didn't like it. It was too hardcore or something. Like the sound on In Utero is too different from the glossy sound of Nevermind. So they did kind of redo a few things to make it, I think, on Pennyroyal Tea. They kind of made it a little bit more melodic or kind of softer. But yeah, I just wondered, with these producers, can they be like too overbearing that becomes a form of overproduction? Because I also know, was it Brendan O'Brien? You can almost pick out his production from albums. I don't know why, but he has a certain kind of way of making the songs really concise. I think, didn't he do Libertar?
He did Libertar,
Velvet Revolver. And he also
Correct.
did some like Rage Against the Machine, maybe Evil Empire, and Rock or Bust. And they all have this kind of like cuteness to the songs. They're not too long. They're all kind of like in a pop rock. They've got a really nice rock sound, but a really like kind of concise pop rock structure. I wonder if that's how, I don't know how the bands decide which producer to go with. I guess they listen to other albums and go, do we want to sound like this? Because some of them have their own kind of stamp. Of
course, I think most of them do have their stamp. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
I mean, Brendan O'Brien did a lot of the grunge bands, right? I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's produced every Pearl Jam album, or produced quite a number of them. He's done
Stone Temple Pilots.
Exactly, Stone Temple Pilots. That's why he was brought in for Libertad. He was brought in on the recommendation of Scott Weiland, because he had worked with him before. and they were looking for a producer to produce Libertad. And Weiland said, "Hey, let's get Brendan O'Brien to do it," and that's how he ended up on the album. Yeah.
I think he can fit in with most bands, but he'll give them the stamp. But Steve Albini seems like he'll go in and he could turn like a sort of hair metal band and make them sound like, I don't know, Slayer or something. Give them a really harsh sound. Like Steve Albini's way of recording is just so harsh. The results he gets. So he can make Def Leppard probably sound like a Mudhoney. And the other thing I was thinking about is authenticity. Like I just said, like Mudhoney, when they record, they're actually trying to get that sort of like raw sound. So is that any more authentic than if they're a band that's just really glossy and poppy? Like, do rock albums lose their kind of authenticity? Like they're not as real because the sound is glossy, whereas Mudhoney are always seen as being like authentic because all their records are pretty like 8-track or very raw recordings. But does that really make them better or more authentic? Just because it's just as much of a soulless decision to say this is what we do, isn't it? We're going to pretend to be like raw and hardcore.
But that's just the different genres of music. I mean, if you're punk rock, you're going to be known for the lower production than, say, the glam rock band that's selling out arenas, right? Or stadiums, I should say, right? So the production and the producer are going to be two very different people to do those two kinds of albums, right? You're not going to get the same. But
is like Hysteria less authentic than, say, Mudhoney's album?
I think authentic is the wrong word.
Yeah.
Because they're both authentic.
With rock, it seems to be a sort of not byword or a by style. Like if you've got raw production, that means you're more authentic. Like you're not as real.
I mean, I suppose you could look at it that way, but I think it's just the producer's style. Like what you're going to get when you go and hire Brendan O'Brien. You're going to get an album that's produced in the grunge style of the 90s because that's what he's famous for, and you just have to look at his resume to confirm that, right? Whereas if you're going to go with somebody, say Rick Rubin, you're looking for that big experience, that rock star experience, that touring around the world experience, right? So if you look at Jack Douglas, who did early Aerosmith albums, that's straight up rock and roll. And like he produced almost all of Aerosmith's early albums up until, or if not all of them, up until Done with Mirrors, right? And a very distinct Aerosmith sound in that era. So what you're going to get when you hire these producers. It's their style. So I don't think it makes any less genre, album, whatever, less authentic. It just makes it more unique to the producer that's in control of it.
But I just remember the criticism of like Permanent Vacation or Get a Grip or something, would always be that, it's not Jack Douglas producing. It's not as raw and as hardcore as the early Aerosmith albums. It's not as real. It's like it's fake rock. That's what they would say. They would say that they sold their devil to be commercial, therefore they're not as real because they chose.
But they were already commercial by that point. They were already commercial by that point. They put out 8, 9 albums before that, right? They just changed their sound.
To stay commercial, they sold out with their sound, is what they say.
Sure, maybe. Or did they just hire a different producer?
The old sound wouldn't work. The old sound wouldn't be commercial, is what they were saying. But I think like Pump is actually quite hard rock. That fit in with the sort of Guns N' Roses era, I think, a little bit.
I do want to do a correction here. We were talking about the Rick Rubin earlier, and we're talking the Ghetto Boys as one of the best rap albums. It's funny. I confused it because my favorite Ghetto Boys album is actually a compilation album that has the song, like, I love Mine Playing Tricks on Me is probably my favorite Ghetto Boys song, and that's from We Can't Be Stopped. But Uncut Dope, which also had the unreleased Damn It Feels Good to Be a Gangster, which is probably their second best song, is released on a kind of like a greatest hits compilation. That's on Uncut Dope, and that was in 1992. So if you guys don't know the Getter Boys and you like rap at all, go listen to the album Uncut Dope, and you'll really appreciate it. When it comes to Brendan O'Brien, really cool stuff he did with Stone Temple Pilots, but people really forget, like, the first two Stone Temple Pilots CDs were really good, and boy, did they have like a streak there in the middle that sucked. I mean, just were absolute dog shit of albums. I mean, you're getting nothing except like Sour Girl out of it, or I'm trying to think of another one that even came out after Sour Girl that was decent. But
Lady
it was,
Picture Show?
yeah, that was in '99, wasn't it?
That was off their number 4 album, was it not? I don't know. I'm just, when I think of later Stone Temple Pilots, I think of Sour Girl, Lady Picture Show, Big Bang Baby, stuff like that.
Yeah, number 4 came out in '99. But I think people agree that the Tiny Music songs from the Vacation gift shop sucked. Core is probably their best album by far. I think most agree on that. Purple was pretty good, but number 4 and Shangri-La D was kind of You know what I mean? Like, number 4 still had some good shit on it. It wasn't the best one, but it still had Down and it had Sour Girl. Music from the Vacation gift shop really didn't have much except Big Bang Baby, Lady Picture Show, and Trippin' Paper in a Hole, which, Purple, once again, this was their second album, which I think was kind of a disappointment, but it had Interstate Love Song, Vaseline, and Big Empty. Now, they're kind of like Guns N' Roses, where their first album was their big album. It had Sex Type Thing, Plush, Creep. It's, they changed over time. I think Scott Weiland even said the only 2 albums he was ever sober for were Creep and Leppard, which, goddamn, Scott maybe should have been on drugs for Leppard, because that's still one of the, I like it. You like it. There's some great songs, like Grave Dancer is one of my favorite songs. Messages is great. But when we're talking about overproduction, guys, can you see that when we're talking rock and roll, you think the Kinks, you think Thin Lizzy, you think Tom Petty. These were bands that never really did overproduction. No. You know what I mean? They just put out rock music, and they put it out, and people enjoyed it. Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, there's no overproduction in that fucking thing. That thing just comes out, grabs you by the balls, and kicks you in the ass. Nirvana's Nevermind, I can see where there's some overproduction in it, definitely, but like The Color Shape of Things by Foo Fighters, which is an album that Dave Grohl just basically did by himself. I know there's a lot of production elements in it, but it's their best album because it's just them not trying to overthink it. I think a lot of times in music, people overthink it and think they add another layer of guitars. If they add in a sound effect, that's going to make it better, where in general it doesn't. So did overproduction kill rock? Did it make it uncool? I would say it played a factor into it. I don't think it's the smoking gun to it. I don't think it's the main thing, but it's kind of like, when you get a disease, it's kind of like a symptom. It's one of the things that pops up that kind of shows you, hey, this isn't healthy.
There's still a lot of rock bands putting out albums, though, and rock is still pretty big. It's just
but you guys were mentioning Aerosmith. Like, Liarz was mentioning Aerosmith earlier, and when he was mentioning Aerosmith, he was mentioning how much differently they sound in the 70s, which, damn, dude, they were just a straight hard-ass rock band. And you brought up earlier, Wasted, when I cut you off, about how, they really changed in the 80s and how it just became, heavy production by the early 90s. And I think that really impacts your success. You kind of get to a point where maybe creatively you're bust, and here you are.
Yeah, that's what I was sort of saying earlier, I think, is that did rock, like is that a survival technique for these rock bands that have their 10 years of where they're themselves completely, but then they have to change, and that means that rock didn't die because all these bands survived by having to change. They changed their production to survive a certain.
Yeah, but how did they survive? Where's rock right now, Wasted? Give me the last time that a real rock band was number 1 on the charts, and not something that was re-released.
I think they didn't kill rock, though. Didn't kill it.
It was one of the.
That's what I'm saying.
It was one of the things that killed it.
There's been albums that have coming out by all these bands. Chili Peppers released 2 albums the other day. A few weeks ago. Was it last year? Oasis are coming back. There's always been Slash.
So
there was
60-year-old
Aussie album.
musicians.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. There's no new ones, but there's tons of rock still in the
But
music
it doesn't
scene.
impact the same way.
No, it doesn't. It's not the center of It's not mainstream culture anymore. But
Correct.
I don't think
And do you
that's
think the
because
fact
rock
that they
died.
stopped being so, yeah, but Wasted.
Yeah, do you know what I
Do you
mean?
think the fact? Do you think the fact that they started overproducing everything, started trying to feed into the mainstream, trying to appease
That's
the
what I
people?
was saying.
No, you weren't.
No, that's what I was saying. Is that
You were.
No. What I'm saying is that's what I was saying was all the fact that the overproduction and changing styles, is that something that, like, is that how these bands kind of navigated the music industry so that today they're still alive, or did they kill the industry? I'm just saying there's two ways of looking at it. Like, I'm not sure if a few overproduced records really killed rock out.
Okay,
Because
but
normally
if
this
it's not
comes,
a few, Wasted. If it's not a few and it's everyone doing it,
yeah.
if the whole music industry has changed in the last 20 years and now everything's overproduced and everything is either sold as nostalgia or it's sold as here's a new rock album and it's completely reproduced and it's overproduced.
Is everything overproduced though? I mean,
okay,
like,
name me a CD.
garage. Maybe there's new metal. Yeah, went a little bit overproduced. They put a gloss on everything. But then there was also the garage scene, like the Strokes and the Hives. They brought things back down to a sort of grassroots level.
And the Strokes lasted for what? Wasted? One album?
No.
Yeah.
They've got 6 or 7 albums, and I think
they're playing at a local bowling alley near you.
No, 2020. Oh yeah, they're not huge, but like hip hop is huge and R&B is huge. I think the diversity and people's options in culture is also a factor. Like, video games are huge.
Okay.
So
Wasted.
I don't know if it's completely, like, rock is not dead though. There's still huge shows to go see to, like the Guns N' Roses show or Oasis next year. So, but there's no new band. There's bands that are around, aren't there? Like younger bands, but they're not really crashing in at number 1 in the Billboard charts.
Liarz.
It's just.
Yes.
Hi. So
hi, I'm here.
I guess what I'm trying to say, and I want to know your opinion on this, is that by overproducing and trying to become more mainstream in pop culture and trying to fit in with the sounds now, isn't that just kind of getting away of what rock was? Wasn't rock always supposed to be the, you're playing that rock and roll music? Wasn't it always supposed to be dangerous? Wasn't rock and roll always supposed to be like, hey, it's cutting edge, kind of like, oh wow, the younger generations all listen to rock. Now everything's classic rock stations on your radio because there is no mainstream rock. And do you think that the overproduction and the kind of conforming to the pop standards to be able to be played on, MTV or be able to be played on commercials or, play at a Super Bowl halftime show, do you think that contributed to the death of rock? Because we're looking at the death of rock here, folks.
I would say so. I mean, you're looking at rock and everything you said. It's dangerous. It's supposed to be, the forbidden one. It's and in order for it to be that, it can't exist in today's climate or atmosphere or whatever that music is, because music is safe now, and everything is produced to the point of saturation, and that's not what rock and roll is. So did rock and roll kill itself with overproduction? I think it had a hand in it. It had a hand in it, definitely. But again, I'm on the side that it's the producers, and that you hire these producers to get that overproduced sound. And factoring what Wasted brings in too, they're trying to keep up with the time, so it kills their career. It's all intertwined, and it's all involved with itself to a point where, yeah, it's just killed itself, and it can't exist in today's music world.
One last question I have for both of you is this: what happened to a time that a band could just go up, singer, couple guitar players, a bass player, and a drum set? They could go record an album, they could go perform, and they didn't need someone being on a mixer. They didn't need someone doing sound effects. They didn't need someone in the background. They didn't need the Dizzy Reed or Melissa from Guns N' Roses. They didn't need a person doing something else. They didn't need to have background vocalists helping them out with songs. You know, I get when you're an older nostalgia act, you're going to need those things. But when you're a young up and coming band between the ages of 20 and 40, how do you just not go out there and play music? In the 60s, they did that. The 70s, they did that. 80s, 90s, we used to have MTV unplugs. Now we don't get that. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think that the production angle of it, where they had to make all this music, but this music requires with the production, oh, we need someone on here to be playing the track underneath, or we need someone on here to help auto-tune the voice, or have a backup singer on here, or we need to add this, you know, synthetic musical instrument into the song, or else it doesn't make sense because it won't sound like the song on the album. That's kind of my direction that I'm having. Did overproduction kill rock? That's my last question to you guys based on that. Either one of you take it, and we'll go on to the next topic afterwards.
Well, I'm not sure it really what I'm saying is I'm not sure it's really killed it outright, as in it's not completely dead, but like you said, the industry runs a very tight ship, and kind of what they allow to become successful is very controlled. So I think that's a problem.
They need to make money.
As long as there's bands out there that still carry like Guns N' Roses, or say like Ozzy Osbourne's Ordinary Man, that still has material on it that could come out in the 80s, you know. So as long as that kind of like spark is there, it just takes a very talented songwriter and a band, you know, to do it like the old school way, and for that to become a kind of popular thing. Because if you've got the songs, you can bypass the industry, because so many of these bands did bypass. Guns N' Roses bypassed the industry. They were so good that they could say whatever they wanted, and the labels were fighting over them. So I think if you do it, and you do it really well, then it's always possible. But it's not like rock is like not being produced. It's just in a kind of such an established format that it's just kind of boring. But, you know, rules are meant to be broken. So yeah, it's always possible. So I don't say it's dead. You can't kill rock and roll.
But yeah, you can. Guess what will kill it? Father Time. Because you're like, oh, Guns N' Roses. Yeah, Guns N' Roses is almost 40 years old from when they first fucking came out. All right, next year is actually their 40th anniversary. So all these bands that you're talking about, oh, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, oh, Metallica, oh, Guns N' Roses. Guess what? They're all AARP members, buddy. All right? We're talking these motherfuckers ain't going to be around in probably 20 years. There's a few of them that might survive like the Rolling Stones, but there's a good chance that most of the current rock music that you guys are all talking about right now, everyone's 45 and older, if not 50 or older. So guess what? Yeah. Once they die, there's nothing new to replace them.
But as long as the music's there, in 20 years, a group of like 15-year-old kids could be playing in a kind of vape bar, you know, and playing rock and roll, and just be like they're the only band, and a whole new scene pops up. You know, after the economy collapses, maybe all the technology will go out the window because it's too expensive, and it'll just go back to, you know, bass and guitar and drums. So I don't think the spirit could always be there unless they wipe out the entire Apple Music library or something, like a digital wiping of all music in history. It's like the blues, like what's he called, Robert Johnson. People found Robert Johnson like in the 90s and started getting influenced by him, that kind of thing. That's what I'm talking about.
I don't think rock and roll's dead, and I don't think it will die, but I think it's in a dormant state right now. I think it's in a coma. It might be in a coma, dormant state, whatever. Yeah. Will there, like you said, Wasted, will there be a band that starts a new genre? Maybe, but are the new bands that are going to be playing? Maybe they'll filter in one or two originals, but will they still be playing Led Zeppelin? Will they still be covering Pink Floyd? Will they still be covering, like you said, Guns N' Roses and the Foo Fighters, Oasis? Are they going to be covering those bands? Because those are the bands that influence them, and those are the bands that are always the constants in the scene.
Yeah, I mean, they could be, but it could be something else. There seems to be all the technology lends itself to you just patching together all these different genres and styles and instruments together. It's too easy to throw effects on things, isn't it now? And to not even use real guitars. You just play one guitar chord and then just sample it. So it becomes too easy for the labels to just produce albums without the band even really existing. I think that's kind of part of the problem, is that the technology gives the power to the record companies to, it's like not needing actors in movies anymore because you've got CGI to entertain it.
AI, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. It's hard to talk about. It's hard to say. I don't know. Rock and roll will never die. Wasted. Rock and roll will never die. Will there be?
Might die
will
for
it have a
bit
renaissance?
And then come back.
Will it have a renaissance?
Well, there's been times when it's happened, hasn't it? Maybe. Like,
but will it happen again?
Like Chuck Berry wasn't always the big thing, and then it sort of came back. And these genres come and go. Like in the 80s, you would never like predict that the Strokes would be one of the biggest bands in the 2000s.
Yeah, but the last time I thought about the Strokes was last night, right? Like not last night, but
they
the song
have fans.
last night.
They have fans though. They have a following, and they're a band. Like they've got 6 or 7 albums, and 2020, Adults Are Talking. That was one of the biggest releases of the year. I know it's indie rock though. And they're not like Guns N' Roses. Yeah.
Well,
there's a lot of indie
two different
rock.
genres. And going back to producers, you're not going to get the same producer to do a Strokes album as you would a Guns N' Roses album. You know what I mean?
No. No, definitely. Don't think so. Well, Axl could get in the Strokes producer.
I mean, Axl tried to get Moby to do Chinese Democracy, so
Moby, yeah. Yeah. He was just, there's too many producers for it to be just one album, is it? But I guess Bevan is good for the industrial rock and roll sort of stuff, and Roy Thomas Baker was good for the Queen, the Queen songs, or the bigger songs. But that's a special record in terms of its insanity production. The fact that they've got an album out of it is kind of crazy. That makes some sort of sense. Yeah, because Jack Douglas, like Slash is also still there. He's been doing solo stuff, but they're not part of the mainstream culture though. There's because the mainstream culture is like controlled. They don't want like rock to be the thing, do they?
No, it's pop music right now, and they like the auto-tune, they like the perfection, they like everything that sounds perfect all the time, and rock and roll doesn't,
like
unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, guys, I think we discussed this pretty in depth tonight. We kind of went off the rails here and there, but we're just trying to have a conversation. And to our audience and to our viewers, we really appreciate it. So please tell us what you think about this topic. Let us know what albums you think are overproduced, what rock bands now just put out nothing but overproduced stuff. And if you disagree with anything we're saying, if you think we're wrong, please comment. We read all the comments. Liarz runs the YouTube channel, who will gladly respond. If you have any questions or you want to talk to me about it, you can go over to Bad Apple's forum, go into the Fatcast section, Fatcast/Sheet radio section, and ask any questions. Me, Wasted, and Liarz will gladly talk to you about it, and we'll tell people what your opinions are too. We enjoy the interaction. If you don't like what we're talking about too, you can give us a thumbs down. You can tell us we suck, because we're not great all the time, but we're trying to get better. And one of the ways that we're trying to get better is some people live by a code, some people live by a system. And recently, our dear friend Wasted shared his secrets to life with us, and I was shocked. I was a little taken back. I didn't know exactly how to process what I was hearing and reading, because he actually sent me and Liarz the actual system written out, which to me is it's a little bit out there, but we're going to share it with you. And we also want to hear your comments on this. Let us know if you think what Wasted calls the Wasted system works. So what we're going to do here is me and Liarz, because Wasted, he likes to be dominant. It's one of his codes to live by, his dominance, that he wants us to read out the Wasted system. So I'm going to start off first. I'm going to start with explaining what the Wasted system is, and we'll go forward from there. But the Wasted system. The Wasted system is a guide to feeling no pain and enjoying life. And he has it broken out in weird ways. He starts off, so he has it by all the letters. Kind of like, if you ever seen the TV show Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the dentist system, this is kind of what Wasted's doing. So we're going to start off with W, and then Liarz is going to take the A. So W, walk it off, baby. Physical activity keeps the endorphins flowing and the guilt at bay. You're not lazy. You're just conserving energy for more important things like drinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Walking, and the other word that starts with W, that really like keeps the circulation flowing and keeps you in shape. You're not a health freak. You're not going to the gym or spending money on gym memberships, and you don't have a car, so you have to walk everywhere, and that kind of keeps you in shape for all the excesses in the rest of your life. You know, you've got to stay in shape so that you can like keep drinking more. You know, you need some kind of discipline in your life, is what I'm saying. Some kind of exercise.
All right. Next up is A for anesthetize thyself. Alcohol is the answer to all of life's problems. Don't like something? Drink until you forget. Did something stupid? Drink until you don't care.
Yeah, definitely. You drink to celebrate, and you drink to commiserate. So basically, whatever happens, you have to stay semi drunk at all times, and that just helps you get through life. You're never like too happy. You're never too sad. And when you run into a problem, it doesn't really bother you unless it's something very extreme. So, and you get into all kinds of like adventures when you're drunk, and you can also cure most like health problems with drinking, and most mental health problems with drinking as well. You know, you don't need to get like prescription drugs if you've got like a 6-pack of beer. You know? And the high, I mean the military class alcohol is a class A drug. So I mean it's up there with like all the top other recreational drugs. It's just legal, and it's like right down the road, the answer to all your problems.
Well, the next one we got on here is S, and it stands for shitposting. Is the new social activism. Share your deepest and darkest thoughts and desires with the world. And if anyone gives you grief, just claim you were trolling. Express yourself, baby.
Yeah, I think with all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world, the amount of information that gets dumped on you, and all the fake news and all the stupid stories and all the TV shows and all the news and video games and people's opinions and social issues, you need a way to like when that information is in you, you need a place to release it. So you basically dump it back out on the internet in whatever form that you choose. It's kind of like a sort of clears your mind. So you're not just your brain isn't full of all this junk. You sort of create your own nonsense and reinterpret the world in your own way. You basically create your own reality out of posting whatever bullshit you want to online.
All right. The next up is T for taste the rainbow of trans fats. Fried, crispy, salty, and oh so delicious trans fats are the key to a life of culinary pleasure. Who needs a functioning heart when you have a functioning taste bud?
Yeah, I think the main point with fast food, trans fat just makes everything taste good. The sodium makes everything taste good, but really it's like a trade-off. The main problem with food is it's all a bit of a lottery. Like if you go to a restaurant, like a fancy restaurant, you don't know what you're going to get. Like when you order a steak, they might mess it up, or you might order mashed potato and it might just be like some like weird pureed stuff with sweet potato. So there's loads of chance involved in that. And then if you cook at home, you've got all these ingredients and you have to put in a lot of effort and time, and then you're not guaranteed that it's going to taste good, and it's going to be kind of expensive, and you might set the kitchen on fire, or burn your hand. Whereas with fast food, it's just delivered to your door. It tastes good. It's not the most amazing food ever, but it's never really a disaster. It's always the same. So you've taken out all the stress and time and price, and it still tastes good. Like McDonald's Russian dressing on the Big Mac, you could get that in a fine dining restaurant, you know. So it's a way of like de-stressing food and always getting food that you actually like. So in this kind of crazy, uncertain world, you can always rely on McDonald's.
The next we have is E. Ego is not a weakness. It's a strength. Surround yourself with yes men. Ignore criticism. And remember, you're the smartest, most talented person in the room, even if you're not.
Yeah, I mean, it's all kind of subjective. Everybody thinks that their opinion is right. I don't think you should be arrogant or overly rude, but you need a little bit of confidence in the world. Because, I mean, if you're not confident, you're just going to get turned into a doormat, you know. And I think, you know, you need to be a little bit confident. Maybe you need to be more confident if you doubt yourself more. So sometimes you need to like steamroll through, because who knows who's right, really.
All right, and finally, we have D for don't attach, darling. Emotional connections are just a recipe for disaster. Keep them at arm's length, and when things get too intense, just ghost. Freedom, baby.
Yeah, you don't need to. You don't need. I think, especially guys, they think that their sort of undying love for their girlfriend is going to be rewarded by their girlfriend having undying love for them, which is not always the case. So I think you have to. I mean, in some cases, people can see that as a weakness. If you're too reliant on them, then they think that they've got you under control or something. I think you need to have some element of yourself that is detached from other people's opinions of you and their, you know, any control that they may have over you. Yeah, in the end, you know, you don't want to set yourself up to being devastated by this one person in this huge world, you know. And it also kind of gives you an upper hand. You know, sometimes it is just what it is, and being able to say that gives you a kind of upper hand.
There you have it, folks, the Wasted system. Because who needs personal growth, meaningful relationships, or a functional liver when you can have a good time?
Yeah, works every time.
I do have a question, Wasted. About the, let's go back here, was it Taste the Rainbow? So trans fats. Now, you mentioned sodium too. What's your take on MSG?
I think anything that makes something taste good is often a solid bet.
Right. Well, that's what MSG does, right? It's salt, basically, but
Yeah.
it really, really makes food taste really fucking good, man. So, would you include MSG in the wasted system as part of like the trans fat sodium intake?
I think it's a similar kind of thing.
Nice.
There's just, as long as it's cheap and it tastes good, that kind of can outweigh fancy like cooking styles which you can't actually pull off in the kitchen. When you try to do a recipe, you know, and you've got to cook the meat a certain way, you know, because you're relying on the different kind of more complicated things like spices and how well you cook the steak. You know, if it's just covered in salt, it's going to taste good anyway. There's also the price involved in it. You know, it's not just trans fat; it's more like fast food in general. Takes away, it's like a guarantee, and takes away the stress of just getting good food.
How did you come up with the system? Like, were you a young man? You know, were you 18 to like 25, just trying to figure out how life goes, and then, you know, out of nowhere one day you're like, you know what, I need to develop a system, like Kane from Kung Fu. You needed to have, you know, a motto to live by, you know, a creed. Is that how this wasted system came about, or can you tell us?
I think it's just through experience that I sort of road tested all these different things, and then I started to come up with kind of rules, like for when I'm going to decide today, like what are you going to eat today? You know, should I go to the supermarket and buy loads of food, and then should I just order McDonald's? You know, and McDonald's is like more of a 80% sure thing. You know, going to the supermarket is a lot more complicated. So over time, I've realized, you know, it's cheaper to order McDonald's. It tastes better. So, it's a kind of trial and error, and then kind of forming it into a kind of rule.
Wasted, what do you think the most important step is in the Wasted system?
Oh, you do need to walk. You need to be able to get up and walk around. There's no point in the other things if you have to wear a corset because you've got no muscle in your back or something. You know what I mean? But I think alcoholism, that is the kind of pinnacle of achievement. As in, that's the highest you're going to get really in life. Is a legal drug that's everywhere and gives you a euphoric feeling, no matter what. Again, it's a guarantee. You never really bet against alcohol.
Liarz, what would be your question?
Oh well, my biggest one was the MSG, but of who knew that Wasted wasn't your name, and Wasted was actually an anagram of a very detailed, elaborate system of lifestyle. It's extremely fascinating. Now, anesthetize thyself. What about, like, you talk about how it's the answer to life's problems. And if you don't like something, drink until you forget. And did you do something stupid? Drink until you don't care. But what about celebratory drinks? I mean, they have to come in somewhere in the Wasted system, do they not?
If you've been drinking and something turns out well, you just keep drinking.
Just
and if
like
it goes
that.
wrong, you can start drinking too.
So the answer is always
kind of crazy adventures. It's not that nothing goes wrong. You might get drunk and end up in the vat getting kidnapped, and end up in the wrong state. But that's an adventure, and you'll survive it. And then probably use alcohol when you get home to celebrate your return home to safety. So it's just. But on a day-to-day basis, it just kind of keeps everything fluid. So you're just not worrying about small things. Just have a beer about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, lunchtime, maybe even 11 o'clock. Keeps everything just flowing along nicely. No worries.
No Wasted, in your previous career, before you were a full-time shit poster, which is what you do now, did you enact the Wasted system there when you were at your place of work?
Yeah, I think when you're writing copy for advertising, you can just you can have like a glass of wine and write all the copy out. You need to be slightly sober to edit documents, but you can often have like a sort of whiskey or something on the side. Sip the whiskey. It also helps with creative writing a lot. If they're asking for like different taglines and creative ideas, having a few drinks often helps. You can always edit it all in the morning after you've done like pages and pages of ideas that make no sense. There's going to be one in there that's good. I think it's a creative force, alcohol. And fast food is, you've got more time to work. If you're always cooking, you can't really get your job done, can you?
Well, I can tell you right now, I'm impressed that you have a system to live by. I can't say I'm shocked, but it seems to be working for you. You seem to be in a good place mentally and, happy with life. So to each his own. That's probably going to end this topic of the Wasted system. Now, folks, if you have any more questions, suggestions, even if you have your own system, let us know. Comments below. Next topic tonight, we're going to talk about I like to call it the Yuppie-fication of the National Football League here in America. Now, I know that Wasted, you don't have a football team over in Taiwan, and Liarz is a big NFL fan, even though he's in Canada, so he can speak to this topic. Wasted, do feel free to chime in. But I remember growing up as a kid, football was mainly a man sport. Fathers and sons would watch it, grandfathers. It's something that a bunch of guys would get around. You'd eat some nachos, you'd eat some pizza, everyone would have a few beers. You'd either meet at somebody's house or even do it at your own home, sometimes at a bar. But it was really focused on just being hey, this is a guy's thing. It's a guy's thing to do. But now, I don't know if it's because of the social media or because of DII, but for some reason they have made football, which used to be one of the great escapes from reality. Whatever was going on in the world, you could just sit down and watch men throw leather balls around and hit the shit out of each other trying to score a touchdown or a field goal. But now every time I watch football, they have nothing but, woke commercials. They have all these ladies now pretending they like football. Like my wife watches football with us. She likes it. But never in my life have I seen so many women football fans, and I blame Taylor Swift for this because I don't think they really care about the game. Like, I'll watch a shit game. You tell me, oh, hey, Chicago's playing the Panthers or Jacksonville's playing the Cardinals. I'll sit down and watch a football game to watch a football game. But now it's becoming a spectacle. It's becoming entertainment. And I hate that. I think fantasy football is to blame for that because it's made, non-football enjoyers watch the game so they can have a stake in it so that they can get involved. They're not rooting for the team. They're rooting for a player to score a touchdown or catch the ball or, the defense get an interception or kicker to make a kick. It's not the same. And then you have degenerative gamblers like our dear friend Arnold Lane, who literally put himself, instead of a time of relaxation, he'll stress the shit out of himself because he just made a parlay bet on a bunch of fucking teams that he doesn't really know, or he's just, going on what the DraftKings or whatever the sporting bet application he's using on his phone, and he's just betting that. It's not like the good old days where you have a bookie or Liarz. Did you ever get the football card?
The football card? No, what's that?
Okay. So the football card is, might be a thing that's only passed around, but it was, all my life, there's a football card. One of the guys you work with or one of your friends is always going to have a football card that he's going to bring to a bookie. What it is it has, it's just a card. It has all the games of the week. You can choose 4 teams to win is usually the minimum. You got to choose 4 games and hope your team win to get the payout. You can go 4 all the way up to 8. You can even bet 12. I think 12 is the maximum you can bet. But you can bet the games. Throw $20 on there. If all 4 of your teams win, you spend $20. You're going to get like $80, $100 in return, depending on what the odds are. You get points, spreads, this and that. But that was the old-fashioned way of gambling, where, hey, you know what? You give $20 to a guy. You do a little football card. You write your name on it. You win, great. You lose, it was $20, and I got a little bit of investment in it. But now, with how all these applications on your phone are available just to bet on sports, it's creating a generation of degenerate gamblers. And it's not even the fun gamblers, too. It's not the guy smoking a pack of cigarettes at the racetrack and, hoping to make the rent check. It's just, it's yuppified it. It's become way too in season. And, football is now like, to buy football jerseys that used to cost $75, they're $200. I remember having a starter jacket back in the day of an NFL team, and it was like $50. Now those starter jackets are $200. Everything's so fancy. Everything's like, okay, look, we're gonna have a Super Bowl halftime show. They got some guy called Kendrick Lamar, and I know I'm an old person now, so there's a good reason I don't know who this person is, but it's like, we're having Kendrick Lamar play at the Super Bowl. Why? Like, most of the people that watch the NFL are, not listening to Kendrick Lamar, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the whole world just changed and I'm the old man yelling at clouds, but I don't know, man. It just seems like it's yuppified. It's like, oh, look, there's Taylor Swift again, and oh, she's dating Travis Kelsey, who went from being, a wannabe Eminem to now he's like, I want to call him Simple Jack from fucking Tropic Thunder. God, he's got a goofy haircut. He's a dumb son of a bitch. I hate every time when they try to compare him to Gronkowski. It's like, oh, he caught a ball. Like, he's a wide receiver playing tight end. He doesn't block worth a shit. Rob Gronkowski used to be basically another tackle on the field. Rob Gronkowski in his prime was unstoppable. Travis Kelsey is not that. He's a wide receiver. He's in the lines of a Tony Gonzalez, who Tony Gonzalez could actually block. Travis Kelsey can't block for shit. But it's becoming all like celebrity related, and it's all like, oh, look who's here, look who's there. I just hate it. I hate how much ticket prices are. I hate how much parking costs. I hate that the NFL Sunday ticket, which used to be back in the day, a couple $100, you could watch all the games, is $700 now. That's the common person with inflation right now can't afford $700 for a fucking NFL Sunday ticket. Liarz, what do you think?
$700 for Sunday ticket?
Yes, sir.
That's incredible. Wow. I wouldn't have pegged it as that much, but one thing we can agree on definitely is leading to the Yuppie-fication of football is 100% fantasy football, and the other one is craft beers. Like, what happened to going over to your buddy's house, watching the game in the garage, and drinking drinking a couple beers. Like now it's all about. It's like you said, you're coming over with your fantasy football league up on your phone. You got your players. You got your look. I got this beer. This is an IPA from so and so. Like it's just. I don't know what. Like I walk into this and I don't know what's going on here. So like I want to sit down.
Lies, you go up back. They got a big green egg. It's like, listen, I'm making a brisket. We have a cheese spread on the table, and don't worry, we just got these microbrews. They're the newest and hippest microbrews.
It's right. And then after he tells you about the big green egg in the backyard with the brisket, he tells you that he's invited his wife over with her friends to watch the game too, because they're all big football fans.
Don't worry, Liarz. They have a veggie spread which is vegan for them, with everything organic and homegrown for their dip and for their vegetables. So they're not going to be affected here.
That's right.
And hey, have you ever tried turkey burgers? Yeah, we're not going to cook regular hamburgers on the grill. We're going to get turkey burgers tonight, and this cheese is actually organic cheese. But hey, yeah, the Bears game's on in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Who's the starting quarterback for the Bears?
Right now, I can tell you. Do you want me to tell you?
No. I'm being Yuppie-fied right now. You know what I mean? Because it's all about the.
Just tell him it's Jim McMahon.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I don't know what's going on with the NFL. I still really enjoy the games, and I still really enjoy watching it, and I don't think that's going to change. The game itself has gotten is obviously very different than what it was when I grew up. It's a lot tamer, and they do call a lot more now than they did before in the past. Especially, I find that almost a good portion of passing plays now there's either a hold or a pass interference, right? So that can get a little on my nerves a little bit, grind my gears a little bit, but it's still a phenomenal game, and I still very, very much enjoy watching it on Sunday.
Dude, and I was freaking out. I was watching the first game of the season. It was Ravens and Chiefs, and they kept calling the Ravens for offensive. The line wasn't lined up right, so because now they have a new rule where the tackles have to be, their helmets have to be at the belt line of the center. And they called the Ravens like 3 or 4 times in a row in this fucking penalty, which was just a dumbass penalty. Chiefs get the ball. And now everyone's going to, Brasky, you're a Patriots fan, go fuck yourself. Hey, fuck you, eat my dynasty's dick. All right? But the Chiefs, on the other hand, their fucking tackle is way off the line. Like, I mean, way more than the Ravens one. Nope, we're not going to call that. Why? Because that's Mr. Primetime. That's Patrick Mahomes. He's going to write all the checks for the league. We're going to make that. He's our golden boy. No one can touch him. And people are like, they did that with the Patriots and Brady. And you know what? Fuck you, they did. They did it with Peyton Manning. When Brady was winning all the Super Bowl titles, he wasn't the one in all the commercials. It was Peyton Manning. Now, Brady's everywhere. I agree. But back in the day, and everyone wants to fucking forget this, it wasn't Brady. It was, at first, it was Donovan McNabb appearing in the Campbell Soup commercials. Then it was Peyton Manning doing fucking everything. Drew Brees was more mainstream than Tom Brady was for pretty much his whole entire career until the last few years of it. So people would be like, the Patriots got away with this. The Patriots got away with that. It's like, dude, just look at what the Chiefs are getting away with now. It's ridiculous. And Travis Kelse is a fucking clown. I mean, his brother seems like a nice, normal dude, but, I mean, he speaks like B. Rabbit from fucking 8 Mile. I mean, he's just a fucking clown. And now him and Taylor Swift, I know that Wasted's got a comment on that. And you know what, Wasted? I don't give a shit. Tell him, because I believe it's true. Wasted, what did you hear about Travis Kelse and Taylor Swift?
I heard that they basically come across some journalist or somebody found these files with all these contracts drawn up for them getting divorced. So,
well, they're not divorced. Married? You mean breaking up? No, they're not divorced. Yeah. They're not married.
No, they're getting divorced. They've got all the plans and the contracts drawn up already.
Wasted. They're not married.
For getting divorced.
They're not married.
I think they are.
They're not. Wasted.
Okay. But if they did get married, they've got all these contracts for getting divorced.
Okay, I saw the same thing Wasted did. It was a contract supposedly leaked out, and the Kansas City Chiefs even respond to it, that they had like a contract that goes, we're going to break up at the end of September. Like, it looked like it was a formal contract that somebody, a pissed off assistant, leaked out there. And you know what? I almost buy it because it seems like it's just for fame. Like she sits at the games, he appears at her concerts. It kind of seems like it's just a fame thing. And, you know, by the way, and I know we're not being political anymore on the show because of the current environment, but I do want to make this one point. And if this gets us in trouble, well, freedom of speech, First Amendment, I'm an American, suck it. So Taylor Swift, who, you know, her music's pretty good. I don't mind her music. I think she's, you know, not the greatest of all time, but, you know, she sells a shit ton of albums. She's got a big fan base. I have no hatred in my heart for Taylor Swift, none at all. But she came out and she endorsed Kamala Ding Dong Harris as the president for the United States. That's who she's going to vote for. My only question is to any Taylor Swift fans and to anybody who calls himself a Swiftie, be fair with me on this, okay? And I'm not saying anything mean. I'm not saying anything wrong. But aren't all Taylor Swift songs about her making the bad decision? Aren't all her songs about, hey, I met this guy and I got with him and it went bad? Aren't all of her songs about heartbreak? Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, that's what her career's built on. So she has to break up with Kelse.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, why would you take advice about who to vote for when everyone she picks, she breaks up with, and it ends badly? That was kind of my point to make. Fantastic singer, very good performer, all that shit. But guess what? I don't need her in the NFL games. I want to go back to the NFL when it was like, if you guys remember the Liarz, you will. The Saturday Night Live sketch of, you know, where it had George Wendt and Chris Farley, sometimes John Goodman, where it was the Bears fans.
The Bears.
The Bears. Ditka. Ditka's going to win. Just a bunch of fat fucking guys with beards and mustaches sitting around chugging cheap beer, eating bratwurst, you know what I mean? Eating Italian sausages, having heart attacks. That's what fucking football is. Am I wrong?
No, it's exactly what it should be.
Allude more to that, Liarz, because I can see you have the passion.
That's how I remember it. Like, that's how, I mean, obviously that you're talking about the Saturday Night Live skit, and it's hilarious, and whoever knows it. And if you haven't seen it, look up, just type in the Bears, and it'll come up in your search. But, you know, that's me as a child going to my grandfather's house, my grandma and grandpa's house, and watching Sunday football with my grandpa and my dad and my brother, and, you know, just down in the basement while my mom and my sister and my grandmother and whomever else was in the house were upstairs doing their thing. The boys, the men, they're downstairs watching football, and, you know, the game is exciting, and we're all cheering, and we're all loud, and we're all boisterous, and it's just fun, right? I didn't need a craft beer or a fantasy league to enjoy the game. You know what I mean? I didn't need a full spread of food, you know, from a brisket on the green egg outside to, you know, fully dressed nachos. Like, give me a bag of chips and a Coke, and I was happy, right? So,
you know, what happened to us being able to just have, I guess what? I've been making chili in the crock pot for the last 2 days, boys. We're going to have some cheap domestic beers here. You know, for you, I'll even throw one up in Canada because I like this beer, Labatt Blue. You know, or we're going to pop some Coors Lights or some Keystone Lights. We're going to have some fucking chili. We're going to have some chips. That's what we're doing here. It's not supposed to be, oh my God, it's a game day event, or everyone, let's get dressed up in our little outfits, and, oh, look, I made fondue, or, oh, look, there's a vegetable tray spread, or, oh, look, I got these, you know, some fancy fucking, you know, shish kebab, you know, on skewers. You know, it's supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to be commercialized. I miss when I watched football. It'd be nothing but beer commercials, Viagra commercials, and commercials for trucks. That's all that should be on fucking commercials, all right? I have no idea why I'm watching a football commercial and they're like, you know, why are they putting Ozempic commercials on there? You know, I get that the average football fan's probably fat, but, you know, come on, man. Why are you trying to fuck with someone and, you know, ruin their good time? And ladies, you can come down and watch the game as well. My wife watches the game. She's put up with me for years watching the game, and she's become really knowledgeable about football, but she doesn't do dumb shit. You know what I mean? She just sits down and enjoys the game. That's fine. Just stop making, like, you know, a fucking formal event.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be the one time a week. You know, God took Sunday off. You know why God took Sunday off? Because he wanted to watch football.
It's a pretty good reason. It's a pretty good reason.
And even with the pussification of football, because it's become the Yuppie-fication and the pussification of football. Listen, there was a horrible thing that happened this week, and our hearts and our thoughts go out to Tua and his family. Tua, you got to retire.
Yeah.
Listen, you're an incredible football player, but you've now had 3 concussions where you're on the ground completely spazzing out from them. I mean, these aren't like normal concussions. These are life-altering changes, and you can't change the game any more than it is. They already have these Guardian helmets, which I don't mind players wearing, but you can't make it flag football, and that's kind of like the direction, because, here's the deal. If you got these quarterbacks running, and the guy that he ran into was Damar Hamlin. If you guys remember, Damar Hamlin basically died on the football field a couple years ago. Damar Hamlin didn't hit him wrong. He didn't put down his head or anything. Tua just ran straight into him, didn't slide, and he got fucked up. And I know that obviously we don't want that to happen. But, you guys got to realize you can't keep changing the fucking rules of the game. It's like hockey. Everyone wants to go, I want Olympic-style hockey. I don't want Olympic-style hockey. I want fucking 1970s and 80s hockey again. Now, I don't want a piece of shit like Marty McSorley hitting someone in the head with a fucking stick. But, I like a hockey fight. I like, them banging into the boards, checking each other. I'm glad goalies wear masks now and are protected. But if you look back at hockey back in the day, the fucking goalie didn't even have a mask on.
That's going back some time, but you're right. He didn't.
It's really not that long, dude. I've watched like highlights from the Bruins games back in the 70s, and I'm looking at these fuckers, and the old players have no helmets on. Bobby Orr and fucking Phil Esposito are flying around, no helmets. I'm like, how the fuck? Yeah. Meanwhile, the puck's going 100 miles an hour, and these guys don't give a shit.
Nope. Jacques Plante was the first guy to wear, if I'm not mistaken, Jacques Plante was the first guy to wear a hockey mask, and basically what he did was take a piece of formed plastic, put it on his face, and every time the puck hit him in the face, he would draw stitch marks on it. So that was the first hockey mask, right? And like if you look at the mask, all it was by the time that he was done with it, was just stitch marks on it, right? Like where you're drawn on it to say where the puck had hit him in the face. That's fucking crazy, man. To just think that they stood there in front of this frozen puck and they just let it hit them, man. Like that was a rough game back then, but it was also very enjoyable.
Listen, our grandfathers were just built different. I mean, even in football, you go watch the 80s, 90s, and you know what the funny thing is, you watch the early 2000s, back before they had to change the rules. I mean, I remember the first Patriots Super Bowl that they won against the Rams. The reason they won that game is because the quarterbacks, when the Rams wide receivers, which were 2 Hall of Famers, were getting off, Ty Law and Otis Smith would literally be like punching them and throwing them on the field. Like before the 5 yards, they would be like assaulting these men. It just made the game better. And guess what? The injuries were a lot less back then. The injuries back when they played, now that they're playing, because I get it, the athletes are faster now. I get it, they're more conditioned. I get the offensive plays are more schemed out. But at the same time, there's more injuries now. I mean, there is nothing but injuries. And you've had the rules now to protect all the players so much that if you keep changing it, the game's just going to go away. And I hate that now it's like you watch the football game and all the commercials now are like, hey, are you on DraftKings? Are you on, I don't know, another betting app or sport? You can name any of these sports bet apps, but they're all doing this. And it's all like they put a stupid model girl who has no interest in football at all. They're just up there because she's pretty, telling you, okay, if you drop $5 and you can win up to $200 just on a free $5 bet. It's like you're literally teaching people to be a gambler and, tricking them into that. But that's okay. It's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. Every second ad now is a gambling house up here in Canada. I think we were talking about this, Brasky, is that down in the States as well, is that they've legalized gambling. So every second commercial is just for a different gambling house and how to get $50 free dollars if you make your first bet with them, or $100 free dollars if you make your first bet with these guys. And it's all it is now. That's, and tie that in with fantasy, tie that in with everything. It just, that whole football experience is very, very, very different than what it once was.
Well, buddy, try to take your kid to a game. My son is a hardcore football fan. I mean, he loves it. We went to my father had a doctor's appointment by Patriot Place because there's a Brigham and Women's Hospital there. So we went there. There was a Pink concert there that night, but we went into the around the stadium because the hospital's like literally like 100 yards away from the Patriots Place. It's away from Gillette Stadium. So we walked around. We went into the pro shop, dude. I ended up getting him a jersey, but Jesus Christ, I got him one of those on clearance because Judon just got traded, literally that week. But they had a throwback Judon jersey, an official one for like $50. I'm like, man, I really don't got the cash, but okay. And my dad was with us. He's like, no, I want to get my grandson this because my son's birthday's coming up, so he got him that. But dude, all the jerseys were like $200 just to go to a Pats game. Now we suck. Like, we're not going to be a Super Bowl contender, dude. To go to a Pats game, it's like $300 just for a ticket each, and then parking's like $50 to $75.
Oof.
Dude, how do you do it? Like, I remember as a kid, you could go to a fucking Pats game for like $10-20.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I was gonna say it's like that in hockey too. I mean, I love the Bruins. I'm a hardcore Bruins fan, but I can't pay $150 per ticket and $50 on top of that for parking. Was it like that for the Flames?
Oh man, it's parking is only, we're lucky. Parking is only $15 if you can get in to the Saddle Dome grounds. There's limited parking there, but if you do manage to get there early enough, it's only $15. So that's good. But a ticket in, well, the lower bowl, forget about it. You're looking at probably $200-300, and even in the second bowl, probably $200 for a ticket. It's crazy, man. I like to go see when the Montreal Canadiens come in town. I like to go to the one game that they do make it out here, and I'm telling you, man, like, it's a good thing my friends know that I'm a Canadiens fan, because somebody sometimes gets tickets and they'll usually either take me or forward me the tickets. But if I had to buy them, man, I'm like, you're looking at, because it's considered a premium game, you're looking at $250 a ticket probably. It's out of control, man. Like, it's a lot of money.
It's the Yuppie-fication of all sports, man. They're trying to make it so the actual fans, back in the day, we always have newspapers. I had the Boston Herald, and I'd read it every day to read the standings and what's going on in the news. Now, obviously, we all look at our phones, but they're making the actual blue-collar workers, your retail workers, your salespeople, your teachers, your cops. Well, not here. Cops get paid ridiculously well. But your firefighters, your nurses, anyone who's, blue-collar, the people that keep the country going, the people that keep your town going. They're making it so they can't go to these things. They're making it so they can't go to sporting events anymore, that they can't afford to do the NFL Sunday Ticket anymore. It's becoming the Yuppie-fication of sports because it's trendy now. It's like, oh, it's an event. It's becoming something that your wife or her friends all plan around now. And it's not because they want to watch the game. It's because they want to have a gathering or a get-together. And it's just, I think when man caves first came out, it was kind of a cool idea. Like, oh, yeah, we got there's a room in the basement no one's using. So I put a big screen TV down there and a couch. Awesome. It's, what Albini did to his garage. It's what all men did. But then they made man caves to the point where it's like, oh, no, now you got to decorate it. And, oh, yeah, let's get an interior designer to come in. Or, oh, we're going to renovate this room to make it a man cave. The fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. Just
Wasted, do you experience this? Or Liarz?
Well, of course. I mean, go on, Wasted. We haven't heard from you, Wasted. So, yeah, chime on in.
Oh, you're talking about the Yuppie-fication stuff in the US football. I think it's the same in UK with football, soccer. In the stadiums, the pies are like $13.99, and they have like bistros and spas in the stadiums. I think in the 80s when I went to football games, it was like going to like a sort of East German prison camp. You might get a pie or beans or something, and there was all these fences and stuff, and police everywhere marching you, like you're a prisoner in the stadium. But now it's all these like bistros, and there's the prawn sandwich brigade in the boxes. All the rich people are in the executive boxes eating like salmon and smoked salmon and drinking champagne. So the whole, but yeah, a pie for like, I think one of the game when I went back to the UK in London, one of the stadiums, the pie was $13.99. It's just a pie. There used to be like $1.99.
Yeah. There's an ongoing joke, like just to what you said, Wasted. There's an ongoing joke in the NHL about the Toronto Maple Leafs that, for the first 10 minutes of each period, the whole lower bowl is empty because they're all suits and they're all still in their executive suites eating their sushi or their caviar, right? Like it's a joke. It's not for the everyday fan anymore.
Yeah, you like look up to those boxes and there's like two guys in suits with like a blonde with champagne flutes, and you're down like sitting in the stand. You can barely see see the game, and the rain is just like lashing down into you.
Yeah.
You're like freezing to death in January. And
Liarz
You
or
get
Wasted.
up to, yeah.
I wanted to ask you. I'm sorry to interrupt you guys. I wanted to ask you, what is that name of those like seltzer drinks that are like alcohol now? Like they all have like these hard little seltzers. And the only thing I see is people that are going to like football games or people that are having these parties are all drinking these. They're not drinking beer. If they are, it's craft. But now they're all drinking like these. Is it Truly or something?
Oh yeah,
Or
White
High Noon
Claw?
seltzers.
Is it White Claw?
Yeah, White
White
Claw.
Claws.
That's it.
Liquid
Thank
Death.
you. Wasted.
Liquid
Thank you.
death is water, though. That's all liquid death
Okay.
is water.
But that sounds bad.
No, these assholes are all drinking White Claws. Liarz.
White Claws,
Like,
yeah.
They're watching football drinking White Claws. Can you explain that?
There's just something inherently wrong with that, man. I can't explain it, man. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I don't drink anymore. So when I do watch football, I have a Coca-Cola. That's when I drink Coke, right? But for people that are choosing to have alcohol, and by all means have alcohol, right? Like you're choosing to watch. I don't know, man. I can't put my finger on it. Just something doesn't seem right. I mean, I fully endorse everybody's right to choose to do what they want. Like you want to drink a White Claw, fine. It doesn't affect me in any way, So have at her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who am I to say that you can't drink a White Claw? But I don't know, man. I see this and I'm like, it's not right. It doesn't seem right to me. Maybe
It just seems like it's
not
happening to all things that were like things guys do. You know what I mean? Like barbecuing. I remember back in the day, people would just be like, oh yeah, what do you do? Well, I throw a steak on the barbecue, maybe some hot dogs and some burgers. Everybody, had like a small charcoal grill or propane grill. Now every motherfucker thinks they're out there being, a chef. Like they're fucking Bobby Flay out there. It's like, oh no, I got my big green egg. I got my fucking griddle. I got all this stuff. Like I have, thousands upon thousands of dollars of grill equipment out here. I know our friend Axel's old. He makes his pizzas outside, which I'm not shitting on him at all. The man actually, he's got one of those outdoor barbecue pizzas things, which looks cool. And I know he uses it all the time. So I'm not shitting on him. But I'm saying, like, in general, like, they've taken simple things like barbecuing or watching football, and they've just yuppie-fied them. They just made it like, the reason, people always go, minorities say, oh, the white people and they're privileged. They've made fucking barbecuing and watching football white privileged. And I get it. Like, I fucking agree. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like watching the game, man. That's all. Like tomorrow. But the thing is, though, I watch it by myself. I don't go out with my friends anymore to watch football. And I have a lot of my friends, coworkers, whatever. Both groups have parties to watch football and stuff, and I don't go because of that, right? I just stay at home and I do my thing. Like tomorrow, I'm gonna have like I said, I'm gonna have my Coca-Cola because that's what I drink on Sunday. But I'm gonna make myself a plate of wings and I'm gonna watch football. That's what I'm gonna do tomorrow. I don't need anything else. I have food.
Do your boys watch it with you?
Sometimes. My eldest son, he likes the Eagles. He likes Jalen Hurts, so. He likes to watch when the Eagles are on.
Yeah, I watch it with my boy. I always have. It's a great father and son time. I used to watch it. I still watch it with my dad, but I grew up watching it with my dad. So it's good family time. It's just, time like that. And I'm not saying the girls can't watch football. Hey, watch as much football as you want. I'm not saying women can't watch football. Go ahead. But just like embrace the culture. Like there's no reason to dress up. Football's supposed to be a day of relaxing. It's like, hey, I got all the yard work done. I've been busy all week at work. Let me put on a pair of sweatpants. Let me eat some fucking shitty food that I'm not going to be happy about Monday. I'll be back on a diet on Monday. Just enjoy it. I just don't like how it's been yuppified, and I don't like it that it's yuppified. Like, there's a commercial going around that just fucking annoys me. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's an NFL Red Zone or NFL Plus commercial. And it's got this kid, and it's like, and he knows all the answers, and like he's going to tell you like, oh well, this person's going to win the MVP, and you're stupid to not think that he could win the MVP, or that the analytics say this. Like, I don't give a fuck about analytics when I'm watching football. I want to see football. I don't care what analytics say. I don't care what math says. I don't, let's just enjoy the game.
It's social media too plays a big part. because if you go on Twitter during the games, or X, whatever, sorry, if you go on that platform during the games, it's all analytic nerds, and they're all talking about advanced stats, right? Like you, Brasky, I don't give a fuck, man. I just want to, I want to see if I can watch them line up, and I want to see if I can call the play myself and see how it plays out, right? And I don't care about the advanced stats at all. So it's the pussification and the yuppification of it all.
Well, I think we kind of touched on all that. There's one last topic I want to get to tonight, and we'll go into this topic a little bit more another time, but there was something that happened recently that made me laugh. We were talking about, in our little group chat here, topics we want to do on the show, and one of them came up with best Seinfeld episodes, which we're going to do that as a topic here sooner rather than later. But one thing when we're talking best Seinfeld episodes that came up, Wasted said, "I'm literally living a Seinfeld episode." I go, "What do you mean?" And he went into great detail of how he's actually living a Seinfeld episode. So if it's all right with you guys, I'd like to go into Wasted's story about how he's living a Seinfeld episode, then we'll wrap up the show. Does that sound like a plan, guys?
Take it away, Wasted.
I was watching some old Seinfeld episodes. I think The Glasses and Serenity Now. I think in The Glasses, there's this air conditioning unit that Jerry has installed by Kramer just comes in, brings it, like the Commando 8 or something. And it's very hot in Jerry's apartment, and his girlfriend leaves because it's too hot. He needs to get aircon in. That's that episode. And so I was watching that episode, and I was thinking that's pretty much like my apartment is completely boiling in this apartment, because you can't have the aircon on all the time, because it just costs. You just get this huge bill. So, and then Serenity Now, I think Kramer sets out. It's the one Kramer sets out a porch outside in the corridor. Like he puts like a deck chair out there and an American flag, and he has a screen door. Like he helps like George's dad fix a screen door. I think it's the episode where George Costanza's dad is like selling computers out of his garage. Serenity Now, and Kramer uses that, like helps them with the screen door, and they can't use it, so he fits it on his door to sit outside. And then I realized that that's kind of what I've been doing in my flat. Like I started out, it's so hot in the flat, but I realized there was aircon in the corridor of the building, like near the elevators. It was cooler outside and in the lift and down in the foyer, the reception area of my building. So I started opening the door of my apartment to let the aircon in. And then I decided, I was just sitting on this computer chair, kind of feeling some of the aircon. So I decided to move the chair out into like the lift area. Like I could just play on my phone. I'm using like the data anyway. So I could sit out by the elevators in this really cold aircon, and then, shut my apartment room door and get free aircon, like Kramer style. And then I was basically, whenever I order food, I always, if it's going to come in 20 minutes, I just basically go down to the foyer of the building to like hang out and like, go on my phone, listen to music in the free aircon downstairs in the foyer. I don't know whether which came first, though, whether I watched the episodes first or whether I had the idea. But they all kind of came together, as in I was thinking of like, they've got free aircon out here. Why is the the elevator so cold? Might as well just spend a lot more time in the elevator or in downstairs in the lobby. They've got beautiful aircon down there, and I'm dying up here, like getting cooked. Like my skin is like popping in the day.
Now, Wasted, when you're sitting down there, is there like is there a staff member or an employee of the building you live at down there?
There is, but if I don't, the door's open, and then there's a kind of a wall. So if I stay close to the door, nobody can really see me. And then I can like walk past the reception to the front door, and I just like look out as if I'm looking for somebody, and then I go back and then start playing on my phone. So that makes it look like I'm waiting for somebody. So I can get away with that for like 20 minutes. But upstairs, only the security cameras can see that I'm sitting on my computer chair outside the elevators. So I can hang out there. There's a window. So I was thinking of like moving like some furniture, like Kramer, maybe put a flag out there or something. The security cameras can see you, so they might. Like once I left a bike in the corridor, and they basically confiscated it immediately, and I got a call on my phone. So they are watching you on all these like security cameras. So, but I don't think I'm doing anything wrong. I'm just sitting in the corridor, and like nobody comes past very often. But when they come past and see me on my computer chair outside the elevator, they like look at me like, "What are you doing?"
Is it against the rules to be sitting out there?
Not really. It's just like it's a bit like Kramer. It's not against the rules.
No, yeah, of course, it's
build
like
the
Kramer,
portals.
yeah, but I mean,
It's just
you
like
are
not
in a.
It's just not
So
the done thing.
why did they take the bike away then?
I think that's just you're not allowed to block. It's like a fire risk or something. It's like a technicality. I think if you're there with the bike, they wouldn't come and take it away. But if it's just left,
Right.
like in the corridor, and you're not there, and they call you, then they'll just take it away. I think it's something to do with the fire rules. But basically, all the corridors of the building, and you pay management fees for the building.
Yeah,
And
there's
so-
condo fees, yeah.
So all the aircon that's in the elevator and in the corridors in the foyer, you've sort of paid for. So you could use it. As far as I can see.
I know, I understand that. I was wondering if they frowned upon you setting up your chair in the common area.
They might think I'm a bit strange, but it makes perfect sense to me. So they're gonna
Makes
have
sense to me too.
Get a lawyer.
We're gonna lawyer up. Lawyer.
Wasted. It seems like you have a fun way of living. You're going around like a nomad in the modern day society, which is impressive. I really compare you to Kane from Kung Fu. I know I mentioned that earlier, but you have your own code, your own system, your own way of living, and you adapt to the environment.
The other thing, a life hack I've been doing is I ran out of toilet paper, so I've been stealing the like toilet paper from the 7-Eleven. Any napkins anywhere, I'm just collecting and I put in my bag. So it's a way to beat this terrible economy. But I'm gonna go for a whole roll. Like if there's a stray roll of toilet paper in there, I'm gonna take the whole roll. Because doing I took like 3 like hand rolls of it and put it in my bag for later. I'm gonna see how far I can go before I have to actually buy toilet paper.
So we're in a position right now that one of these days, like, we haven't heard from Wasted in a while. We keep trying to get him on the show. He hasn't been in our chat, and we don't know what's going on with him. We find out that he's been sentenced to prison in Taiwan for stealing toilet paper.
Stealing toilet paper.
That
would be a very
and aircon. It's kind of like stealing Wi-Fi.
And aircon, yeah.
You're stealing aircon. You have to find places to get free aircon.
Oh my god. So
and just like the Seinfeld finale, that would be a very, very fitting end to Wasted time here. Yeah.
He has all these people coming up. The fucking 7-Eleven cashier. Yeah, that's the man. Yeah. That's the man right there.
Absolutely. Perfect.
Well, on that note, I think we've had a long show. Me and Wasted got into our debate. I don't know if our topic of did overproduction kill rock really hit, but folks, if it didn't, let us know. If it did, let us know. We're doing the show for you, the audience. So we do it for us because we enjoy talking, spending time with each other. But we definitely want you guys to comment, reach out to us, let us know what we're doing right, let us know what we're doing wrong. Ask any questions you may have. In today's current political environment, there's some questions now that we really can't answer because we want to continue doing the show and we don't want to get in any trouble with the old YouTube or anything right now. So, but please feel free to ask questions. We'll do our best to answer them. Please be involved. If you have any questions at all, you can always leave the YouTube comments below. We love comments. Liarz will get back to you. If you have other questions, going to badapplesforum.com. You can register an account if you don't have one. And we have the whole Shit Radio topic thread in there. Please go ahead. Me and Wasted and Liarz check that regularly. So we'll definitely talk and communicate with you. Instead of that, I believe it's that time of the evening. Wasted, thank you as always. Liarz, take us on out.
Alrighty. Once again, thank you for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. Thank you for listening to the last episode. Numbers were up for the last episode across all platforms, so it's very encouraging to see. Again, find us anywhere you get your podcasts, so that's Spotify, CastBox, iHeartRadio, wherever. And of course, look for us on Rumble and YouTube, and hit like and subscribe. And once again, thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, fame or shame, our next contestant, William Angio! All right, come on. we got a show to do.
You really suck, dude.
Wait a second.
Lovely.
How could I suck? I host a talent show, all right? I'm on national television, and I get paid a lot, all right? And I get chicks. Here, smell.
No, God.
All right? Oh, sorry, that was a sandwich. Smell.
No, I don't want to
okay?
smell your
She
food.
wasn't even that fat, all right? So I'm not gay, all right? Whatever, let's get to it, okay? I am so desperate to hear you sing. I mean, last time you were fantastic. So you're going to do a Love Fist classic, right?
It was #1 in Germany for 19 weeks.
I'm sure you'll be fine. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, it's fame or shame for William Angio! Fantastic. I'm moist. Let's take a break before we hear from the judges and find out if that was fame or shame. What do you guys think? You want to come see my trailer later? Come on. Come on.